What was
What's up, brother?
what's going on? What was that that just Stuyvesant just sent us
I didn't see.
in the group? He sent something, some kind of something from Book of Samuel.
That's Dude. Do you know how crazy that is?
Why?
I literally just started the book of Samuel with the second book of Samuel with my dad
Hmm,
just now.
interesting. So this is from Samuel, second book of Samuel,
Yeah.
verse 11. At the turn of the year, the season when kings go out to battle, David sent Joab with his officers and all Israel with him, and they devastated Ammon and besieged Rabbah. David remained in Jerusalem. Late one afternoon, David rose from his couch and strolled on the roof of the royal palace. And from the roof, he saw a woman bathing. The woman was very beautiful, and the king sent someone to make inquiries about the woman. He reported she is Bathsheba, daughter of Eliam, and the wife of Uriah the Hittite. David sent messengers to fetch her. She came to him, and he lay with her. She had just purified herself after her stuff, and she went back home. The woman conceived, and she sent word to David, I am pregnant. That simple,
No, not at all.
huh?
So why? So and then Ruth.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, Boaz had gone to the gate. Okay, that's Ruth being Tobit's great grandmother,
yeah,
great great grandmother.
yeah.
So I'm just gonna put why. I'm answering why. Let's see what he says. It's probably going to be something like, I don't
Yeah.
know, I just thought it was cool.
In the
Nah, I'm sure he has a reason.
in the meanwhile, man, dude, this is gonna sound a combination of like maybe my Yitzhahara is acting up and a combination of other things, but dude, I just gotta tell you, man, I
Well,
I I,
we're
f- I, I,
waiting.
f- I feel like you know it would have been like Daenu. I probably could have just learned certain things, you know, and just stayed a traditional guy, and I would have been married like I don't know, a bunch of years ago.
No, that's literally impossible, what you
Okay,
just said.
okay. So listen, man. So okay. So if it's a, I thought I considered what you're saying, meaning I let's say what you're saying is true. If that's impossible, then and I'm only saying this from personal experience. I'm not saying it because I'm pulling it out of my you know what. I'm not saying it as a thing to say. I'm saying it because this is what I've experienced. You know, this is like it's like I have empirical evidence. I have strong enough evidence over an 8 year span to say what I'm about to say. And that is, you know, I can go out with women who are Masorti, who are traditional, but more often than not more often, almost every time, they say that I'm quote unquote too religious for them. And
How
the
about this?
listen,
Here's a piece of advice. Keep your mouth shut.
just let me no, just let me finish. Keep my mouth shut. What? What do you
When you
mean?
go out with these girls, go out over the sorority
Brother,
girl,
brother,
and then don't show them how religious you are.
brother, I don't show anything. I don't show anything. I sit there and on a date, I have a good time. But listen, man, when the rubber hits the road, whether it's on the second date or the third date or the fourth date or whatever it is, when the rubber hits the road, the girl usually asks me, "So, are you like, Shomer Shabbat and fully kosher and stuff?" I I'm not going to lie. I'm not. I'm just not. Because at the end of the day, man, Values are values. These are my values, right? I can say to myself, you know what? Screw it. I should just stop doing all this stuff, and then maybe one of these women, I'll end up marrying one of these women if I stop. If I stop. That's the only way, really. I just have to stop and go back to who I was before. I mean, I don't see any other solution. The other option is the other um, how should I put this? The other thing that happens is most of the women that I meet who are religious, and I'm only telling you, I'm telling you the truth. I'm not making this up. I'm not inventing things. I'm telling you the truth of my reality as it stands today. Most of them, I'm not attracted to. I'm not talking about FFB girls. I'm talking about Baal Tshuva girls. I'm not attracted to them, and it doesn't even matter what their age is. So,
or what they look like.
what do you mean what they look like? Most of them, most of the girls that are single, that are Baal Tshuva right now, are I'm not into them, dude. I'm gonna tell you something very very simple. We live in the year 2022. A remotely attractive secular Jewish girl, and I've said this before, there is absolutely almost no incentive for her to, you know, drop everything that she, so to speak, has going for her, which is basically the attention of men on social media and in real life and in physical life, to go lock herself in a building somewhere in Jerusalem or wherever and dress modest. There's no reason for her to become a glorified nun. There is no reason for that. She has no incentive. I met one woman like that who did this, and this was years ago. And you know, when it came down to it, the girl is a model. She ended up, or looks like one. She ended up going to seminary. She became Baal Tshuva. She actually went to day school when she was a kid, but then kind of, stopped being religious in high school, whatever it was. And then went back to seminary when she was like 20, 21, and she ended up meeting a guy who also, like, similar story. And he was in yeshiva, and they got married. Other than her, and maybe other than my ex-fiance, nothing. Nothing. Dude, I'm telling you, when I say nothing, I'm telling you, again, from 8 years of personal experience. I'm not talking out of my ass, pardon my language. So, that's it, man. I have a choice to make. I really have a choice to make.
What happened today? What happened today?
Nothing happened today,
Did you go on a
dude.
date?
No, dude, nothing happened today. It's just something I've been thinking about. No, it's nothing to do today, dude. It's something I've been thinking about recently. It's something that I see not only myself. I have single friends who are literally going through the same things. Guys who are decent looking guys who have a lot going for them, and they have the same, they're running into the same cul-de-sac, into the same brick wall at as we speak right now as me. Dude, I'm telling you, this is the reality. I know you can't accept what I'm saying. You can't imagine what I'm saying because you got married, I don't know when, 14 years ago, whenever it was, 26 years old,
Why do you
whatever.
say I can't accept it?
I just
know.
feel like when I tell you this, there's like a lack of validation. I don't know.
Why? I don't know why. I'm not giving you a lack of
You're
validation. This
you
is what you're.
because you asked me what happened today. Nothing happened today. Nothing
No,
happened.
no, no. It just because of we talked about things today earlier,
What's to
right?
talk about?
So take it easy, all right, man.
No,
All right, back off
no,
for a
because when
second.
you say things, it's almost like they're
No,
the opposite
well,
of.
when I say things and then get horribly interrupted by Homo interruptus,
No, you
then
say
then
things that are
confusion occurs.
no, you say things that are the opposite of reality.
What did I even say that you can even talk about right now?
You didn't say anything regarding this topic.
No, I said we did. I know that. That's
Okay.
my point.
Okay.
If you didn't interrupt me, I would say we spoke about a bunch of topics today,
Yeah.
not related to what you're talking about
I
now.
know. I know.
So because you changed gears,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
I asked you, which is a legitimate question. Did you have an unpleasant experience
No.
since the last time we
No,
spoke?
I'm the kind of person, I just have random thoughts. I think about things from time to time, and yeah, I think about things time to time. And yeah, obviously, and I guess sometimes I see certain things, unfortunately, on social media, where I see people who, like, ostensibly, let's put it this way, maybe the same as them, and I'm wondering what are they doing right that I'm doing wrong. And it's not even that they're doing anything necessarily right and I'm doing wrong. It's that these are people who live the life that I was, so to speak, living, at some point. And again, it's not, I don't want to say ignorance is bliss. I don't want to say, like that guy, what's his name, Cypher. But listen, man, once I went down that path, I really complicated my life. I really, really
Okay,
complicated my life, man.
okay. So hear me out for a moment, okay? I'm not going to talk about this topic at all. I can only talk about something which there is some overlap, but it's not dating or marriage or anything like that. Okay, for me, my struggle was and is with making a living. Okay, so the way that you feel about the not having good fortune with this topic, I have had ever since I got married, especially when I got married. Okay, um, misfortune when it comes to parnasa, like nobody else that I know.
By the way,
There's literally.
by the way,
Hold on.
I had the same thing, by the way, for the past 7
No,
years.
you didn't.
Yes, I
No,
did.
you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Dude, will you listen? You got to hear me out, okay?
I
You got
hear
to hear
you
me
out.
out.
I'm just telling you that similar
You
story.
don't know, dude. You don't know what I had to do for a living. You've never done this. Поверь мне. Okay, the different things that I've had to do to make a living. Okay,
Okay.
so I've had to, I don't want to get into. I can't even say everything. All right, so basically, I didn't pit myself out. Just to be clear, okay,
Okay.
not that unless I didn't even think that would work. I wasn't sure. I was like, but so for like probably the first 12 years of my life of my marriage, right? I was struggling to figure out how to feed us. Seriously, like where was the food going to come from today for two people? Okay, and so why am I telling you this? Because it forced me into a situation where I was angry, I was fed up, I was envious. I didn't understand why I couldn't even have just the slightest bit of luck. Not luck, but like blessing, for the tiniest bit of stability. Why does it have to be more than a decade of like misery and anxiety and humiliation? Okay, so it took me more than a decade to get into this mindset, which was like, all right, God, okay, so I submit to you entirely. I don't have a choice. Okay, I got to let go of all this negativity. I literally can't live this way anymore. Okay, I can't live this bitter and anger. I can't live in this misery. I'm just going to let go of all because the harder I pursued certain things,
Yeah.
the harder I worked,
Yeah.
the less it worked.
Believe me, I know. I know.
Okay, so and the more everybody hated me.
Yeah.
Meaning, like,
Yeah.
the harder I tried to work, and it did, and it just never worked. And then people kept getting angrier, and like my parent, everybody, you know what I mean?
I know. Same.
So
Same.
okay, so basically,
I know exactly what you're talking about, dude.
I got into a state of mind where I was like, all right, God, fine. Like, now I'm digging ditches. I'm literally digging ditches now. Okay, and I'm saying, God, you want me to dig ditches? I completely abandon all of my ambitions, all of the things that logic dictates I should be involved in and should be doing. Obviously, you are extremely contemptuous of all of my ideas, of everything that I'm trying to do. Fine. I eject all of it, and I'm just going to go day by day with you. Today, you want me to dig ditches. Tomorrow, you want me to crawl on my belly underneath bridges, like, in buildings and stuff like that, because I had to, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay? Everything was painful and humiliating, okay? Like, after work, like, as I'm on my way to the car, like, I'm covered in sweat and dirt from head to toe, and I'm working in a place where everybody's wearing... I'm worse than all the other construction workers, because when you're an apprentice, you're the donkey, right? So even the other electricians are not as messed up as I am, right? And then I got to do every day the walk of shame, okay? And watching, like, people, in business attire with nice hair and all that kind of stuff, right? Look at me like I'm a vagrant, okay? Every single day. So I was like, okay, God, you want me to? This is part of it, okay? I'm not saying this like in a cynical way. I'm just like, accept it. I was like, okay, you think that this is what you believe I should be experiencing? I'm just gonna go minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day with you, okay? And that's it. Okay, this is where you want me. I'm just gonna follow your lead from this point on. I don't have any more plans. I don't have any more ambitions. I'm done. That's how I've been since then. And somehow I didn't die of hunger, as you've seen from last time that you saw me. And somehow, and it's not clear how things, unfolded the way that they did. I'm not going to say COVID was good fortune, but somehow I got involved in this.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's it. So I completely let go. I stopped looking at other people, and I stopped thinking about success. I stopped caring about anything, and I just kind of tried to live literally in 5-minute packages with God, like, in a little portion. That's it. Because there's no other way to exist for me. I can't go back to the way I was. You sound like me the way I was before.
You're talking about with dating, though.
Right. I'm just whatever.
Because dude, listen, I'll tell you. I had obviously I wasn't doing construction, but I had my share of, for the last 7 years. In my 20s, I didn't have any issues with Parnassa, and all of a sudden,
dude, construction is the most honorable of the dirty jobs that I had to do. Okay.
Yeah. Listen, I had my own, because obviously with part of my business was just manual labor stuff and carrying boxes and this and that. But anything I tried before I started my business, anything I tried, meaning in terms of going on interviews, nothing panned out. Nothing. It was just humiliation after humiliation. And like you said, I was also like, people were like, literally like, telling me that I crapped my career, or like, in Russian, я уничтожил свою карьеру. That's the words that I heard. I destroyed my career by not doing this, by not doing that, by wasting this time, by going here, by going there, this, that. These are the words that I heard over and over and over again. But when it comes to that, I don't really give a damn, because all these things are, our Parnassa, we, obviously Hashem's in charge, but we, how should I put this? We have more of, so to speak, a say. We have a choice. We can make this choice, we can make that choice.
This does not disagree more, from my experience.
No, what I'm saying, what I mean by we have a choice is that we're the one involved primarily. Physically, I'm talking about when we're doing whatever it is that we're doing, we're the one involved. And you could say, obviously, if Hashem wants to shine His light upon us, like you said, and give us mazal in this particular endeavor, we will have success. If He doesn't want to give us mazal in that particular endeavor, we won't have success. That is absolutely true. That is absolutely true. But when it comes to dating, or when it comes to just finding, again, man, like I don't know if this is your dude, even with my lack of, so to speak, like I haven't, my business has not been profitable ever. The business that I'm doing right now, the wine, ever. I've had revenue, I've never had profit. I've never had like, never made money from my business. But with that said, I have seen a lot of just Hashkaha Prata stories or experiences, just little things here and there. Again, it hasn't brought me like crazy parnasa or whatever, but just, things along the way that show me that it still might work out. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. And even if it doesn't, at least they've been just kind of like little kind of smiles from Hashem just to show me that there's Hashkaha Pratis. Again, if not one dime. But when it comes to finding my soulmate, I'm just thinking to myself, I'm going to say this in Russian, но не может быть, хоть ни один момент, not even a moment of like, not even a wink. Usually Hashem sends you a wink, with certain things. There hasn't even been a wink. There hasn't even been like any siman, nothing. I literally get like, somebody just out of nowhere okay, it's very nice, very cute. Somebody's thinking of me, trying to set me up. It's like my friend, he wrote a song called Thank You for Thinking of Me. With people who think like this of us, who needs enemies, But it's like, I literally sometimes want to tell people, I'm like, can you, and you tell me I shouldn't do this, because it'll just like, make it worse. Make things worse. I want to tell the person, can you imagine me and this woman in a photo? Can you imagine it? This person, me, and the other, can you imagine these two people together, physically together? You don't know anything about them, just aesthetically. It's just, I don't know, man.
It's a horrible thing to say.
It is a horrible, and I maybe said it once. I've never, I usually don't say it. 99% of the time I don't say it because I'm like, why am I going to say it? What am I going to accomplish by saying it to the person who's trying to supposedly help me allegedly? Either that or like, I sometimes want to ask them, do you hate me? Like I literally want to ask them that question. This guy who sees me.
I can almost tell you that. Well, let's just say hypothetically for a second.
Yeah.
If they heard you say that, they definitely hate you. Yes.
Now they will hate me. No, it's just like the person knows me from the minyan or whatever it is, sees how I interact, sees what I'm about, and just like, hey, here's a girl who's off the derech. Like I'm not your, is this like personal Jesus? Am I supposed to save her?
Dude, you remind me a little bit, right, of my wife, who she's an intuitive person, right,
okay.
and she's very sensitive to herself and also to others. Hard of hearing people are like that to a certain extent, right?
Okay.
But she thinks. I was like, well, did you tell this person that this is an issue? And they're like, I don't understand. Can't they figure it out?
No, dude,
no,
but I tell these people.
Can't.
No, I tell these people that this is an issue. I tell them to their face. I tell them before what I'm looking, because when I ask them what I'm looking for, and I tell them, and it's almost like we didn't have this conversation. Dude, I've had conversations.
You shouldn't be talking to these people.
Dude, they talk to me. They talk to me. They approach me.
Tell them to F off.
No, but there's some of them are, dude, some of them are nice people. They're not like pricks. I can't be nasty to people who are nice.
It's a trick. They're pricks. It's a trick. Don't talk to anybody anymore in shul.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. And some of these people, like this guy, he, again, like these are not stupid people. He works at a. Dude, can I read to you the exchange I had with this person on WhatsApp? Let me read this.
I think that might be. I think it seriously might be illegal halakhically.
Really? Why? 'Cause I'm not saying his name. I
don't know, man. Makes me nervous.
No, I want to give you an example of this is a smart person who has bazillions of dollars, who runs a startup. Very smart, very intelligent, successful. More than I ever will be or dream to be. Ever. He will for sure surpass me in every facet of life. By the way, including Shidduch, I mean, he's married, he has children. He surpassed me in every facet of life. Compared to him, I'm a homeless man.
Dude, that's all just mazel stuff. That's not,
Dude,
qualities.
I don't know, mazel. He's an intelligent guy. Mazel schmazel.
What do you mean mazel schmazel?
Listen, let me show you. Okay, the guy sends me a photo of a girl, right? She's, I think, 36, 37 years old, off the derech. Okay. This is so-and-so.
I've heard this. You've told me about this.
What did I read?
Extensively about this particular case.
Did I read you this whole exchange?
No.
Just I want to give you an example of a smart people who don't care. I don't know if they don't care. I don't know if I don't know what happens to them when it comes to like matters of not technical things. Not whatever it is that they work in. Let's put it that way. Hi, this is so-and-so, my whatever. This is his relative. In reality, she's much prettier. Okay, no, but I gotta give him credit. She's a fairly attractive woman in these pictures. Okay, fine. With your permission, I'll ask her. I'll mention that you want an Orthodox house. B'ezrat Hashem. I guess he means Orthodox home, whatever that means. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it means.
Okay, fine. I write to him, hi. Not a house, woman. I make a house with a woman who cares about these things. And then he writes, yes, smiley face. Just saying. And then he goes, anything I'm supposed to say about you as well? Quote unquote, supposed to say. And then I go, I have some questions. He goes, of course. Number one, what is the shaykhs between me and this girl? I.e. in terms of personality or ideology of life, in your opinion? Then he writes to me, I don't know you well enough. And I wrote to him, what do you think I have in common with her? I'm not saying I don't, but I want to know if I do. And then I responded to the I don't know you well enough thing, precisely my point. Wink. And then he writes, this is his response. But I think both of you made aliyah from a strong family, quote unquote strong, whatever that means, parentheses Soviet, but independent. And then he writes, listen, I don't believe in making a match. It doesn't work if you try to match. And then he goes, are you single? Are you open for introductions? That's his criteria. And then he goes, that's enough. Wink. And then I respond, I am open, but there has to be some relevance. And here's what he writes. Jewish, check. Orthodox, check. Love Israel, check. North American, check. I respond to him, she's not Orthodox, smiley face. And then I go, I don't date based on checks. Sorry, man. This is not some robotic mathematical process. I really appreciate the offer, but I need someone who is serious about living a Torah life. And then he responds to my previous thing about she's not Orthodox. He goes, that's the question indeed, as in, like a question that remains to be answered. And then I write to him this whole thing where I'm basically trying to teach now. Mistakenly, obviously. I made a mistake. When I say I made a mistake, I mean it's futile. This process is nuanced, subtle, esoteric, not so simple. You need to get a feel for both people in terms of knowing them well. We are humans, not robots or pieces of paper. It doesn't have to be a perfect match. But check, like in rounders, check. Pay that man, he's miani. I didn't write that. Is good for startups and business. I was trying to kind of zinger him because that's what he does. For sure. But for making a shidduch, not so much. I apologize for the lecture, but I feel like these things are obvious. Speaking of your wife. And then he writes, all good, my friend. And then he responds to my whole thing. I don't agree regarding get a feel. I'm not arrogant to my feelings regarding shidduchim. My experience is no feeling. The two people need to decide. And then I go, that would be a good strategy if one of the people didn't need to fly all the way to such and such place. She lives far away, just to see, and instead has to study I'm studying for the LSATs. And now he goes, you're running, as in like I'm already running ahead. And then I respond to his arrogance thing that he said that he is not arrogant about his feeling. I go, it's not arrogance. Actually, I would feel like you made an effort. Just saying. And then he responds to my thing. I really appreciate the offer about Torah life. He goes, this is a serious point. Like he agrees with me that it's important. And then I go, I'm 41. She's 35. Who is crawling at this point? Because I respond to him when he said, you're running. And then he goes, she's 38, I think. And then I go, oh, wow. Then sorry, man. I'm looking for 28 to 34. That's just a preference. I'd like to have many kids. Just being honest here. And then he writes, all good. And that was the end of the conversation. I mean, dude, I don't know what more I could do, what more I could say.
Can I, if I was like hanging out with you,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
While this was going on, I would tell you, do not engage like you're speaking to a crazy person. You don't understand when you're talking to someone crazy.
But he's not crazy. He's a normal guy. I know him. He's a very nice, normal guy. He's a normal guy. Dude,
I'm telling you, he's crazy.
He has a startup. He has a wife. He has kids. He has a house. He's like a normal, put together person. He's a put together individual. Way more than I ever will be. Mazel or no mazel. It's just, you look at him, you look at me. He's a person who's got his shit together. Pardon my language.
Okay, look. Okay, listen. All right. I've listened to you.
Okay.
I've listened to you.
Okay.
Spill your bile. Okay. Now you listen to me.
Okay.
I'm doing a Jerry Lewis impression when he. Remember that when he the Jerry Lewis
The telethon?
and then
Yeah.
Don Rickles came.
Yeah.
He goes, I've listened to you spill your poison. Now you listen. Okay. All right. So listen. There's this. I used to watch Sherlock Holmes, the modern show, with Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
And I liked his Watson character, his friend, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, I can't recall what the context was, but he's like, Watson is telling him, he goes, you're one of the most brilliant men that I've ever met. And he goes, so why didn't you listen to me when I told you that? He goes, because you're an idiot. Right? Both things are true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I'll be your Watson for this in this particular context.
Okay.
So you have to. I mean, you probably know this. Don't interrupt me. Even if
I'm not.
Even if like I'm going to say some stuff now.
Yeah.
And then you're most likely, or you may feel that I heard that already, but just let me say it anyway.
Fine.
Right. Thank you. So basically, it would seem to me, right, that. Okay, I'll say it another way. I have a lot of experience dealing with people, right, who do not treat me like I'm an equal. Yeah. I'm not talking about family. Just get that idea. Just in general, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not an equal, and I don't have the same needs as they do.
Yeah.
Do you understand? I deal with people who feel that they're so high and mighty, right?
Yeah.
That, of course, my needs are not as important as their needs, or as complex. Do you understand? Like I'm not as complex an individual, so I don't need the same amount of.
You're saying that this is what you're saying that this is what they think, not what's reality.
Of course not. Okay, but this is so most kids are treated that way, right? Mm-hmm. But if the kid is smart or intuitive, they can sense that that's happening. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I remember, this started early because actually being the youngest in the family, right, of any family, that's kind of, people treat you like a little mascot, a little pet, not like a real person, right?
Yeah.
For instance, like you see like a chubby kid, right, and you see like his sisters and his mom or whatever, right? Oh, look how cute! Cute. You're raising a person for a life of misery. It's not cute.
Yeah.
You're neglecting the fact that this is a human being that's going to want to be sexy to girls, and you don't want to think about that because he's cute. You understand? That's just, I'm giving you a hyperbolic example of not seeing a person
for who they are,
for what they are, and what their needs are, because you don't consider them a real person. Okay.
Yeah.
So because I have a lot of experience,
it's called
dealing with that
objectification. That will be the word.
Yeah, like, oh, yeah, look at the cute little mascot, whatever. This is something, I think that I've suffered from this mostly from friends.
Yeah.
Okay, I was the religious mascot.
Yeah.
I wasn't a human being. Okay, so basically, I'm an expert at sensing that. As soon as I sense that, I don't make it known, but I make a decision right there and then. I have to end my discussion,
interaction,
or my communication with this person as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Right. In the nicest possible way. However, my decision is made. I'm not going to allow this person anywhere near me, emotionally. I see that this person does not see me as, like they would see an equal.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into shit with them because I'm going to get mad and I'm going to do something which will land me in jail, right? So I have to disconnect. So you got to learn that.
Yeah, I normally
this guy is the that's one of the worst examples I've seen of somebody.
I would just tell you that I normally, in other situations, I normally do that. Here there's really nothing, so to speak, to disconnect. The only thing I should have done was not engage in this particular exchange. The only thing is, I see this guy, like, let's say, not once a week, but once every other week at Minyan.
Okay, so say hi and bye. You don't have to. You don't owe him a conversation.
No, I know. It's just
be as respectful. He's a human being every human being deserves a minimum amount of respect, which means
man,
it's a lot of respect.
It's just. Put aside this guy for a second. To me, it's just incredible that I keep hearing about this whole term floating around the Frum world. The term is Shidduch Crisis. And,
it's not a Shidduch crisis. I want to talk more. I want to interrupt you.
Yeah.
And I want to talk more.
Okay. But can I say one thing quick before you start? I just want to say that crises are made by the people who are, so to speak, in charge of them. As in, the crisis, like an economic crisis, is not made by, like, citizens. It's made by governments. It's made by the people that are saying that there's a crisis, or the media, which is one and the same, essentially.
They're creating an industry where they're necessary.
Yeah, where their services,
problem
so to
solvers.
speak. Yeah. So hold on a second. Hold on.
Hockey.
What is it? Yeah.
Hockey, Normie.
Oh man, the Rangers got lit up tonight. Anyway, that's a whole other story. Speaking of crisis. So I just want to say that real quick. Yeah. So the people creating the Shidduch crisis are the people who are trying to do them, to make them. But you were saying, sorry.
Yeah. So I would say this. I'll tell you this. The crisis is not a Shidduch crisis. It is a lack of. It is a not being Stephen the Irishman crisis.
Yeah.
I know what that sounds like. Let me unpack that a little bit.
I get what you're saying, but I want to hear in depth.
Okay. Some people, I've noticed, and don't ask me why, I don't know what it means, I don't know what the implications are allowed to be, in terms of their relationship with God, they are allowed to be distant, let's say. God does not go out of his way to make their life horrible, to force them into a situation where they're in constant dialogue every moment with God. I don't know what that means. I really don't. I'm not trying to, I'm tempted to say, he doesn't care about them as much as he cares about us. I don't know. I can't say that. I don't know.
You're saying that
Okay?
God basically makes like ostensibly their lives smoother and
Yeah,
easier
they're
to wear.
comfortable. He's not making them. He's not challenging them
Yeah.
in terms of creating or maybe because it could be some of them he doesn't want near, and some of them
Some of us,
perhaps are already near, and so they don't need to be tortured,
or
right?
maybe it's just there's a mazal. That's really it. That's what it comes down to.
No, that mazal it plays into all of this, but that gets complex. Let's just leave that out for a second.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are some people that God won't leave alone, who he will make sure that unless they're in constant dialogue with him every moment, we're talking about dveikut, right?
Yeah.
If you go for a second without dveikut, you are lost.
Yeah.
I'm lost. I get lost a lot, by the way, and I have to struggle to find my way back. But the moments that I succeed in whatever in my level of my idea of dveikut, right?
Yeah.
That's the only way. That's the only moments when life is tolerable at all.
Can I mention one thing regarding this concept? I had a friend back in the day when I first was starting kind of my Truva journey, I guess you could say. Not he's technically not Jewish, and he was telling me how like basically people who he just said it straight up. He was like, this is like a crutch. People who can't handle life, who can't handle, the challenges of life, use the idea of a God as a crutch. And on the one hand, I was like, what the hell? What do you mean? On the other hand, I just thought about, huh?
He's right. He's right.
Yeah.
Except he's not right the way he thinks he's right.
Yeah.
What he doesn't understand, okay, is that the fact that he thinks that he's handling his business is just pure mazel. It's a pure favor. God could make the situation much more complex. Yeah. In fact, I know people, right, who cannot relate at all to even the slightest bit of complexity that I've gone through in my life, and that other people have gone through. Yeah, I've seen them their relationship with me, and their relationship with others. They can't understand at all how so many things could go wrong because so few things have ever gone wrong for this person. And then that person feels that it's because of their character and all of their
character, talents, whatever it is. Yeah.
Their talents, right? They really think that they're responsible.
Yeah.
For and when I tell this person, I'll be like, let me ask you a question. You think you're good at this, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question which I know the answer to related to this topic that you think that you're a hyper talent. Okay?
Yeah.
Answer this question. Okay. So if you're such a huge talent, why am I more proficient at what you're a massive success at than you are? Explain that to me.
Yeah.
Okay. There are people who don't understand that they live a charmed life.
Yeah.
They don't understand that. Okay?
Yeah.
So, and they don't understand that there are people who work much harder than them.
Yeah.
Okay? And who are more adept at the thing that they're involved in. Okay? But for the time being, not as successful.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm not advocating for anybody to give up because of mazal. God forbid. No one is ever supposed to say, I'm not going to try this anymore, and it's because it's not in my mazal. It's just that certain people are given a different hand, are dealt a different hand. Okay?
Yeah.
So you're going to be struggling. Here, I'm going to create an example of a guy. This guy A, he's going to struggle. He's going to be super talented, super smart, super intuitive, and with a lot of creative ideas. And he's going to struggle in misery until 40, let's say until 77. Until 77 years old, he's just going to be a loser and it's not going to be a loser, but he's not going to get success. But his tenacity, when he gets to be 77, he's gonna run the world, essentially. I'm creating a hyperbolic example of something. Okay, so there are people get dealt hands like this. Okay, I'm not putting us in that basket. Okay, I'm just saying that there are people who get dealt these packages, these special packages from Shemayim, these little vacation packages to, when you used to go to a travel agent, you get a vacation package, right? Well, when you're in Shemayim and you're about to head out to here, you also get a package.
Yeah.
Okay, a room with a view. Okay, so that seems to be like, okay, so there's nobody who has any type of expectation. Nobody should. Basically, ideally, and when I say, nowadays when you say ideally, people immediately dismiss that. But ideally means, no, this is what you have to try to do this. You have to. That's what ideally means. So ideally, you got to wake up as a blank slate in the morning, okay, and say, all right, God, I have nothing. I have no plans. I'm empty vessel. Fill me up. You're going to fill me up anyway. So I realize that, right? So I'm going to follow your lead. What am I doing today? Okay. So that is an arousal from below.
Yeah.
You'll get a response from above. So we have a couple of hints as to what we're supposed to be doing. Okay. We get very complex. What am I going to eat today? Eat? Who says God's going to says that eating is in your what do people call when they have like a list of things that they're going to do today?
Yeah.
On the
agenda.
Whatever.
Yeah,
okay.
Whatever.
On the agenda
Schedule.
today, on your I was going to say Rolodex, but that doesn't make sense either. In your day planner.
Yeah.
Eating is not on your schedule today. Okay. I'm being hyperbolic, but that's essentially how we have to be. Like, what do you mean eating? Okay, we know you're going to be breathing because you're going to die, but you don't really necessarily need to eat. You can still be alive and not eat. So that might not be on the agenda today.
Yeah.
But people wake up thinking, I got to eat, I got to have sex, I have to be fulfilled, I have to, listen to, exquisite music. If any of that is missing, I'm going to destroy the world. I become a tyrant, right? Yeah. Whereas the way we're instructed to be, by the way, I'm not like this. I'm just saying that this is, I've read the material and I've seen the examples.
Sure.
So we're supposed to be completely blank when we wake up. Be like, all right, I guess, God, I remember that I'm here because you sent me here and you need me to do something. There's literally nothing else going on besides that. Okay? So if you can adopt, and you must adopt that mindset. God is forcing you into that mindset, it seems to me.
No,
doesn't seem like he's gonna let up.
I know that because it's been like that. My mindset has for the most part, been like that for the last few years. The only thing that I will say is that, listen, man, at the end of the day, it's difficult to get away from, I mean, first of all, I want to get married, I want to have kids, but also there's like outside commentary and pressures from community, family, what have you, you have like,
you gotta shut everybody out.
I know, but
listen, eventually.
I know, but it's difficult, man. It's difficult. Like
I know.
It's very difficult because it's not even a question of shutting people out. It's a question of I feel bad because, dude, the other day we went over this guy's house. He's a little bit younger than me. Here, he has 5 or 6 kids. He's no smarter or dumber than me. We're born in the same city in Lvov, and I saw how my parents were with his little babies. And I just, dude, I want to give my parents grandkids. I want to. They deserve it. They deserve it.
Right.
And if anything, it'll make their lives, it'll give their lives like I see how my mom is with little kids. She's like, it calms her down to be with little babies, It literally
God
comes.
is God is a jealous God. Listen to me. I'm responding to what you're saying right now.
Okay.
God is jealous. He said it. He wants you to be far more concerned with what he wants than making your parents happy.
That's fucking terrible, bro. Pardon my
I
language.
know. It is. I
That's
mean, it
awful.
certainly seems that way. It feels that way.
It's awful, and it's. I would use the word cruel because nobody deserves this more than my parents, and I feel like I'm the one. I literally sometimes, I don't want to say get accused. I feel like I'm the one that's literally like withholding it from them. Like I have the
It's not
ability.
you.
I know
It's
it's not
literally
me.
God
I know it's not
withholding it
me.
from them.
I know it's not me. So
Dude, there are people who don't who don't get to live very long. There are people who
I
there
know,
are children who don't who they don't get to do anything.
I
Like
I know.
it doesn't make any sense. So the easiest way to get through life, right? Honestly, the easiest way, ironically, is what looks the hardest to most people, right? Is where you say, God, I'm literally ejecting everything, all of my old feelings out. God, everything. And I'm just putting everything in your hands, even my parents' happiness, everything, because that stuff is more yours than it is theirs.
Yeah.
Or anybody's. Okay? So God, he gave us laws like we have to respect our parents, right? So you have the opportunity to do that. You were given that commandment, and you have the opportunity to do that because you have access to your parents. So you have the opportunity to do this mitzvah, which you're supposed to do primarily because you want to make God happy, not the parents.
Yeah.
Making parents happy secondary. So basically, God is not going to allow you to deprioritize him.
For sure. No, listen, don't get me wrong, man. The first priority is Hashem. For me to do puruvur, that's Hashem. That's for Hashem.
No, Hashem will decide whether or not he decides
Whether or
that he
not I'm gonna
wants
do
you.
puruvur for him.
Right. No, that's right. No, he doesn't. Certain people, he doesn't let them do puruvur as much as
I
they
know
want
that,
to.
but that's
Even the Rebbe,
dude, that's
he didn't get
yeah.
the opportunity.
I know, but I'm just saying that's horrific. If that's in my hearts for shalom, that if that's in my cards, that's a horrific. It's a horrific
I understand.
sentence.
So
It's a horrific
right now
sentence, man.
I'm being Manus Friedman.
I know. It's
I am.
just
But I think that I'm not expecting. I'm trying to be a little different though, but I'm not. I'm not succeeding. Okay, but so basically the idea is that God wants essentially to free you from all of the burden that you put on yourself. He's going to force you to free yourself of that. All of the things that you feel that people are counting on you for, he says you have to purge that. Your only concern should be what I will allow you to do. Just follow my lead, and I will show you what I will give you the opportunity to do. And that if once you free yourself from those self-placed burdens, either the burdens you place on yourself or those that others place on you, once you expel that from yourself, you will be a person that weighs 50,000 pounds less than you weigh now. And you will be more effective in doing what I sent you to do. And there should be nothing else of that concerns you. Now, that's ideal. That's the ideal. Nobody in the religious world would deny that that's the ideal. However, some people are allowed to get away with not being ideal, while others will not be allowed to get away with that.
I don't get it. I mean, I get it, but I don't get why that's the case.
Why?
Why that has to be the case? Yeah.
Why is a question it's just that, it's not available. Didn't bother to share. Certainly not to me.
Listen, the only thing that I will say is that I sometimes I see, how should I put this? I see why Hashem withholds. I mean, I for sure know for a fact, Baruch Hashem, that Hashem withheld um, my, you know, wife from me, or a wife, until after Shmovid, because now we see, what separates, so to speak, people, normal people from not normal people, obviously. And Has v'Shalom, I should have been with a person, and I would have had kids with her, and she wants to go stick needles in them and what have you. So Hashem saved me at least from that, right? But it's okay.
Let's just say it looks like that, but don't get like,
yeah, I know.
Don't get over attached to any
I know.
one possibility.
I know. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, and then, I don't know, man. But like, and listen. On top of that, I see guys who got married and supposedly everything was great, but then like they have a few kids and now there's nowhere for them to go. Meaning, had they not had kids, they would have escaped from this person that they're with. So that's another aspect. Another aspect is Hashem saved me from whatever, making a mistake, whatever you want to call it. And some element of suffering. Let's put it that way. I see men who get literally, like, I don't want to use the word subjugated, but I see how they get just treated like crap by their wives, how their wives talk to them, and I say thank God that, I'm not in that situation, whether with kids or without kids. So I guess that's good, but then I think to myself, well, not every marriage is like that. There are people who are just, Baruch Hashem, like, more or less everything's okay. And so what's to say that I, could not be in that situation as well?
You could be, where you could be? You could be literally one of the richest men in the world, right? You could be absurdly happy with your wife and all your kids. And you could be doing absolute, like, whatever you're, like, in terms of, like, tzedakah, right? Like, whatever your wildest imagination. You could, like, literally support yeshivot. You could completely feed and give a stipend to every learning family and just help all the poor. Like, you'd be doing that all day. Pure righteousness. Okay? And that's what we want to do. The trouble is, God needs us to do other stuff. And it doesn't explain why. Doesn't feel that he needs to. Okay? That's the actual, like, reality what we're in. So,
dude, can I be honest? I feel like I'm not doing enough. I feel like there's things that I can be doing to achieve what you're describing. You know what I mean? And I've heard you say, well, if Hashem wanted to implant in me the desire to do those things, I would have done them already.
No, I could not have said that to you.
Okay. So how come I'm not doing those things? Like, dude, there's, like, literally, like, I used to have a desire to do them. Я потерял, знаешь, расхотелось, as we say in Russian.
Yeah, because I think that part of you is starting to understand that the desire essentially doesn't mean nothing without the thumbs up from God. And how do you know you get the thumbs up from God? Because He will grant you success along the way as a That's how. By the way, that's how Mashiach knows that he's Mashiach, because God grants him success.
Yeah.
That's why Bar Kokhba. That's why Rabbi Akiva thought that he was Mashiach, because God kept granting him, step-by-step success. So that's how we know that God wants us to continue, because he'll give us like signs of success along the way. That's what it would seem like to me. Okay, but how to measure success is also a discussion. Okay, let's say if you're doing something that's strictly a purely financial enterprise, right? Just you're like, look, I just want to make a lot of money. I'm going to sell coat hangers. Okay,
Yeah.
That's not a very, let's say, spiritual idea, right? Yeah. But the money that you make from the coat hangers you can build yeshivas and support, and feed the poor. Okay, and then you can donate coat hangers to people who have coats. Okay, so that's one way. The other thing is when you try to do something, let's say that's involved in educating, right? Mm-hmm. Educating, and something that's more, educating, holy, with holy matters, or getting people more aware of Torah and God. Okay, so success there could be interpreted as, well, how do people like it? Are they responding to it? Right? So you can take that as a sign that you should continue.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how long the period that you have to try before you see that either there is success or not. I mean, probably more than a day. You give it a month, see how it works. People respond, then that means you get the thumbs up from God, right? Like, for instance, I'm interpreting these podcasts, right, as God giving us periodic thumbs up, because there are people, okay, we have a modest following, right, mm-hmm. but also we're getting interesting ideas, right? For instance, like the interviews that we're planning, right? We've had a little bit of success with those interviews so far. We had one successful, huge interview. Okay, so it's like approaching 6,500 views.
Yeah.
Right. And then we're gonna, God willing, we're gonna have another one soon. Okay, and that's one. Who knows? Maybe could be at least as much, maybe more. Whatever God. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I would have never in my life thought to do something like this because I hate the sound of my own voice and blah, blah, blah. Right.
Yeah.
But I was surprised that, like, if, I said God, I was like, I'm surprised. This is me talking to God, right? This is my Stephen the Irishman moment.
Yeah.
I was like, God, I'm surprised that I like this. I didn't think I could ever be comfortable doing something like this. So if you approve of this, I certainly can. I can see myself throwing myself into this.
Yeah.
Right. Just like a little blurb from my discussions with God.
Yeah.
So in my limited understanding of things, right, thus far, that's what I think. That's how I think that everybody has to proceed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the only real chance that people like us can have to get anywhere. Okay, I'm telling you, dude, there are some people who literally will not get away with anything. Right? Like, God's gonna be like, you haven't spoken to me for 5 minutes. I'm not letting that happen.
It's crazy.
Okay?
That's really crazy.
Yeah. No, that's, but in the past, right?
It's a difficult way to live, man.
Someone like David HaMelech would consider that the greatest compliment that anyone could be paid by God.
I know, but it's a difficult way to live, man.
It's a difficult way to live when it conflicts with your own ego, right?
Not even
Right?
ego. I'm talking
Of
about
course it
practice.
is.
I'm talking about no. I'm talking about practically. Forget about ego. I'm talking about practically.
No. Here's what I mean. Because when I have like these like microseconds of freedom, right, from my own burdens, the burdens I impose on myself, and the burdens that are imposed on me by others, and all I have is the burden that God puts on me. In those moments, I feel I never felt better than in those particular moments. It's very difficult for me to get to experience those moments because I have a huge ego and a massive, ferocious Yetzer Hara.
Yeah, same.
But when I have these little like glimpses, these little tiny like moments here and there, it's kind of like, you know what it reminds me of? I got hit by a car, and it hit me in a certain way that I was flying in an arc.
Oh my God.
Like 20, it feels like I went like 20 feet in the air. This is what my friends were telling me.
When did this happen?
Okay?
How old were you?
When I was 16.
Shit.
And I was flying, and in the midst of the flying, during one of the flips,
Oh my God.
I was kind of like, it's like, it's floating. It was kind of like, I forgot for a moment.
Were you in the
and then boom,
were you in the
like
hospital? That. Like, were you?
Dude, it was a miracle.
Wow.
Barely, dude, I smashed the windshield with my elbow.
Oh my God.
Barely a signac on me.
Wow.
Barely a black and blue.
Wow. I got hit by a car that was going like, I was on my bicycle. This is in Jersey, on the way to school, and it was this, those landscaping trucks. They're all like metal. He was turning. I think he was going max 5 miles an hour, but it was like a hunk of metal, and it hit me, and then he stopped, like and also one of those like barely a scratch on me, like miracle kind of thing. It's kind of crazy, actually. I was 12 or 13. Yeah.
It was you have these like miracles. So, God, he easily breaks nature.
Yeah.
Okay, when he decides to.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but just the reason I brought it up was just to kind of like try to solidify the point of what we're talking about before I brought it up, which is like in those moments when I am relieved from the burdens I impose on myself and that others, and all I have left is what God, just kind of like, all right, whatever, I'm just doing what God wants me to do. I'm not thinking about like anything else, right?
Yeah.
It feels like that one little moment when felt like I was kind of like floating for a second before thud, before boom, I landed on the ground hard, okay? And that's like, getting back to the burdens of the Yetzer Hara and myself and others.
Yeah.
So I get these little glimpses, and that's where we have to get to, and it's scary to do that.
Yeah.
Because you gotta, in a sense, it feels like you're letting go of yourself as a person.
Yeah.
And it certainly seems that way, but it's not actually like that. When you get there in those little moments, it's way different than what you fear it will be. It's like you don't disappear. Like you're still there.
Yeah.
Right? But you're more in touch with like reality. It's like you're free from just for a moment. You're free from the darkness. Like it's kind of like another mushal. You're walking through a dark forest, and it's such a thick forest that you have to walk through the forest. It's pitch black, and that's why you got to walk with your hand in front of your eyes and your other hand in front of your balls.
Yeah.
Because you don't know when you're going to walk into branches, right?
Yeah.
That are sticking out. So it's pretty slow moving, and you don't know where you're going. And then lightning strikes just for a microsecond.
Yeah.
And that gives you enough information to kind of, Like, oh, that's amazing. Look at all that information.
Yeah.
You know, like, that freedom, that moment, that's what it feels like.
And then you just make a mental picture of what you saw, and then you can
use it, right?
use that.
You can kind of, but it's just see, just for the sake of this mushal, the only part that I want to connect to is that moment of relief.
Yeah.
Okay, so ideally, you know, like the tzaddikim, they live their whole life that way. That's every moment for them.
Yeah.
That's what a tzaddik. That's the experience of a tzaddik.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's more complicated than that, but poor Rabbi Akiva, all those guys.
Yeah.
You know, like when you hear about their lives, it doesn't seem very tempting to be one of them.
Yeah. No, it does not. That's why every time I keep speaking of which, when I hear some of these like people, you know, from world, oh, but look at, you know, you talk about, you know, the about Tshuva thing and being 40 and single. They're like, oh, look, but Rabbi Akiva was, you know, started learning Torah. Because when I mentioned, you know, I started.
Like, what does that mean? I'm going to be tortured to death by the Romans?
Yeah. I'm like,
no, thank you.
Yeah. No, when I mentioned I became Baal Tshuva when I was 31. Yeah, but Rabbi Akiva didn't know Aleph until he was 40. And he was the biggest tzaddik in the world. Yeah, and I'm like, oh yeah, so I'm gonna be flayed. Yeah, like by who was the emperor at that time? I forget.
Hadrian.
Yeah, Hadrian is gonna flay me with. He's gonna wrap me in the Torah and burn me alive. I'm gonna say Shema Israel, right? Oh, that's what you. No, but then you know what I mean. What's the shaila? Same person, by the way. Same person. Same type of person that will say those two things. Ugh. It's just. Dude, you know, I don't know. I don't know.
You know who should never say that things like that?
Who?
That type of person that you said. You know who should only say stuff like that?
Who?
Rabbi Akiva.
Yes.
Okay? Don't be a wise guy. Don't be like, oh, but you're such a... You know what it's like? You ever see that episode of South Park when the Japanese were like buying up everything? Right?
Yeah.
And then they're like... And then when people are getting upset, they're like, oh, but you America, you have a big penis, right?
Yeah.
And then the person who was getting angry at them was like, calm down. Like, yeah, I have a big penis. You know, like, right?
Yeah.
It seems like a trick. Like, you're trying to, in a sense, you're just trying to say, like, oh, you're so heroic and strong. You can handle it, right?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, this like sniveling piece of shit is having a great time, not doing anything that he's saying that you're a big hero for doing.
Yeah. Dude, I'll give you a perfect example. When I meet people who are from birth and I tell them, you know, instead of using, I should use the words, because we're talking about certain things, call it, you know, dating, this, that, and I mention, you know, I should say the words, I wasn't raised in, you know, I wasn't raised frum, or I wasn't raised in the Torah world. But what I normally say is, you know, I'm a Baal Tshuva. And you know what they say? Yeah, we're all a Baalei Tshuva. We're doing Tshuva every day. I want to take a battle axe to such a person.
Pakoni. Battle axe is too...
And then I end up correcting myself. You know what I mean. I've said this to people. Don't patronize me. You know what I mean. You grew up frum. I didn't. You have access culturally to certain things, whatever it is. We're talking about dating or other things. And the person has nothing to say to me. They have
nothing. Know what I would say? You know what I'm thinking, like, what would I say in that context? I would say, instead of saying, what did they ask you? How did you answer? Why did you answer that? What was the question that caused you to say
it'll normally be like, they'll ask me, like, how is a guy like you still single, this and that. And I start saying, you know, I dating in the frum world is difficult. You know, I'm Baal Tshuva. It's harder. I'm also Baal Tshuva. No, you're not.
Here's what I would say. When I would come home from public school, on my way home from junior high school, I would stop at Joe's Corner Deli, which is owned by an Egyptian Christian named Asaph, and I would eat a ham and cheese sandwich on a Kaiser bun every single day.
Yeah.
That's how I grew up.
Yeah.
Also, when I would
Dude,
go
dude, you're
to
gonna get
events,
silence. You're gonna get
also,
crickets.
also when I would go to events,
Uh-huh.
all my mom's friends would like to show me half of their tits for some reason. I'm
Yeah.
talking about cleavage.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
That's one thing that are the religious guys who
Dude,
grew up in a religious community,
and it was,
they can't imagine cleavage.
you know what I would say? You say, and it was like this in my case until I was 30.
Dude, in a lot of ways, right? It's like when I became frum, I didn't go to yeshiva and disappear into Meir Sharon. I was still in the same environment that you were.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
It never ended.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then some of these guys would say, "Man, I wish that was my life." That's what these F&B guys, you know? Wow,
Yeah,
really?
I mean,
Damn it. What? You dropped all that for this? So I had a guy tell me that.
you dropped ham and cheese sandwiches and big Russian
And big Russian tits for this?
cleavage?
Big Russian. And Белые розы, you know the song. Белые розы, белые
No,
розы.
that's dude, I only remember what I enjoyed. Okay, I remember.
I was just obviously we didn't enjoy this.
I remember Cinderella, Cinderella.
Cinderella. I don't remember the rest of the song.
Jabotinsky.
Yeah. Dude, the best song from Jabotinsky is Vodka, 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 koya, молодец.
I don't even know that song.
Vodka, 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 koya, молодец.
No, I heard what you said. I'm
yeah.
not familiar with the song.
Yeah.
Here's the other. You know who? I actually have a photograph taken with me, right?
Uh-huh.
When my parents took me, it was one of these Russian restaurant events,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
And Vilya Tokarev
Who
was
the hell?
singer.
Who the hell is that?
He's a famous Russian singer,
I
right?
have no idea who that is.
I was wearing I was like 4. I was wearing like a little suit,
Oh,
a little
God.
monkey suit,
Oh my
and
god.
he thought I was cute, and he's like, "Oh, I want to take a picture with the little monkey suit."
Oh
kid.
god.
You know what I mean? So whatever.
Da 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 da. Paradise. Da, da. Dude, I'm telling you, the restaurant. I told you the restaurant on Sheepshead Bay, Paradise, and Manhattan Beach. Da 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 da. Paradise. Da, da. And then the shashlik is coming out. You know. Da, da. And I'm sitting there.
Dude,
Everybody's dancing. I'm sitting there by myself with the
we grew up as
shashlik.
Romans,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's just like
Yeah.
the only people who could understand us
Yeah.
are Roman legionnaires who
Yeah.
converted to Judaism.
Yes. Oh my God. Dear Lord. Like Hurkanus or something. Ben Hurkanus. Somebody
No,
Ben
no,
Hurkanus.
Hyrcanus was not. No, we're talking about like Onkelos.
Onkelos,
Onkelos
Yeah.
was an actual Roman.
yeah. Yeah.
And you know who else would understand us really well?
Who?
Moshe Rabbeinu.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what he grew up in?
For sure.
Forget about cleavage. Boobs out entirely.
That's funny.
No, I'm serious.
Yeah,
they
no,
had
yeah.
like
Yeah.
they were one of the most like hedonistic
Yeah.
societies ever. You know,
Yeah.
they had like it was crazy. No, like, Egypt
Yeah.
was like
Yeah.
off the hook. It was off the hook, like degenerate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like poor Moshe, right? He's like,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Russian restaurants and cleavage. I remember.
You remember? You remember?
You remember. Right?
Dude, to be honest with you, I feel like I'm just, my whole thing with dating now is just, the past, 10 years, has probably been, it's like Eddie Murphy says, I spent my entire 30s fixing everything I screwed up in my 20s. I feel like I basically did, if you want to say, I can't even use the word debauchery, just, I guess, things that are against the Torah, ostensibly, not so horrible, since I'm like 17 or 18, so basically until, that's like a 12-year span. So I figure like since then, there's like, I guess you could say there's like tikkunim that I had to do, maybe. But then you could say other guys, that wasn't the case. Just got married right away, got, had kids, and that's basically it. So like, what am I doing? You know?
Some people, dude, like there's like examples of this, like almost in every situation,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
You got like guys, let's say, I don't know, let me say the construction site again, whatever, right? You're like, everybody has like a different job, right? Some guys are literally whoa, guys, I'm not here for that. I'm here just to kind of, I'm looking at that one, conduit right there, right? I'm here. I got to do that one bend. Okay, I'm going to do one pull. Pull the wire through the conduit, and
Yeah.
I'm out. Okay, I'm not here on this construction. This is not my main site. Okay, he's not like one of the main crew guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The main crew guys are the ones who are walking with with soil on their faces and soaked, completely, right? And down to their boots. They're walking in puddles. Okay, you don't know what that other guy's deal is. He may have
Sure.
he may have worked. He may have already done that recently, right? And then moved on. You never know where somebody's holding or why they're there. You can never envy someone because no one has ever had it easier.
No, I know.
When it all balances out than anybody else.
I know.
Okay, so those people that you see who seem to, I got 5 kids and everything, you don't know.
I know.
You don't know.
I know.
I don't even, because I've heard some stuff, right, that sometimes I wonder, things that happen to like Rabbi Akiva or horrible things like that, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to know what it took for this guy to have this mazel right now.
Yeah, it's true.
Whatever it was, it's not going to look like it's worth it. So I'd rather not inquire about that.
Sure.
Let that be.
Of course.
And just pray that I don't have to, go through what I've heard some of these other people go through.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's much easier just to kind of, you could write this on a paper, or if you have like a chalkboard or something like that. You wake up, the first place that you look when you wake up, you just see the words, okay, God, what are we doing today?
Yeah. No,
that's it. And then
I'll be honest with you, that is my mindset normally. That is my mindset.
Okay, and when it's not your mindset, you're in misery.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? God is not going to allow us to go to Whore Island in Colombia. It's not going to happen. It's just literally not going to happen.
That sounds like something out of what do they call the Ron Burgundy?
You filthy pirate whore.
Yeah.
What do you call? He goes, oh God, that's terrible.
Hooker, pirate hooker, no.
Right. He goes, how did he even come up with that?
I don't know.
Why
No, they had improv. You should watch if you watch like the outtakes. They have like all these different versions of the same scene, and they choose the funniest one. Sometimes not even the funniest one. Sometimes the funniest ones are outtakes. Yeah. Whore Island.
What was that cologne that was illegal?
Sex Panther. 60% of the time, 60% of the time it works every time. Wow! 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 Sex Panther.
And then some lady at the party, she's like, "Oh, what's that smell? It smells like Bigfoot's dick." Whatever. I'm not gonna say it.
Dude, I went to. This is like it's like 2009, and I went to a club with my friend. And so what happened was, we saw that basically, you go to the bar. This is in the city. It was I think it was like a triple date or a double date, whatever it was. And the girl that he was with, just like nice girl, but just as bricks. You know what I'm saying? So we come up to the bar and we're like, oh, how much is a goose and tonic? The bartender's like $14. We're like, you know what? He goes, dude. He goes to me, dude. Let's just get waters and follow my lead. Okay, we got waters, tap water.
Yeah.
And then the girl that he was with, on a date, She goes, "What's that?" And then my friend goes to her, "Oh, this is um this is a special Russian vodka. It was distilled like 7 times. Uh, it tastes exactly like water. You want to try?" He gives it to her. She tastes it. It's like, "Oh my God, this is amazing. What is this?" She's like, "I'm drunk already." She's like, "What is this called?" He goes, "It's called Sexy Bear."
Okay, hold on one second. Hold on. You're gonna hear it's not the chai count.
Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah.
It's me opening up a
See,
popcorn.
you ruined the flow of what I was saying. Anyway, I
What?
said you ruined the flow of what I was saying. So, Bekitzer.
No, please continue. No, I was so entertained. I needed
Oh, okay,
popcorn.
fine. So she's like, so that basically, the the girl got the nickname Sexy Bear. So every time subsequent to that, we go out, and if it's like, you just get like tap water. Like, "Oh, what are you drinking? What would you get?" Oh no, like I come to the bar and be like, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna have a Sexy Bear tonight."
Dude, in the 6th grade, I convinced a girl that I liked that I was a stunt double for Daryl.
Daryl, who?
There was a movie about a robot boy
Oh,
who was
that.
a.
Yeah, yeah.
Remember that? He was
You
like a
told me this
weapon.
whole. You told me this whole thing. Yeah.
She was the valedictorian.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Yeah, see, it just goes to show, like, intelligent people are not terribly. Some of them are not terribly astute. They're not tapped in. They're not astute. They're not. They don't have a sensitivity. Let's put it that way. They don't have a intuition. Um, yeah, it just
Yeah, but
is.
that's what intelligence is, intuition.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, man. It's just I really wonder how people. It's interesting to me. I guess sociologically, whatever you want to call it, people who, on the one hand, they run startups and you know they are successful, they are put together, they know exactly what they're doing, how they're going to do it, when they're going to do it, why they're going to do it. And then when it just comes to like matters of the heart or these kind of things, you know, they can't for the life of them grasp why a person, would request of them just freaking basic. I mean, this is basic. What I was asking of this guy. I don't think I was asking for anything like earth-shattering or monumental. I don't know. Maybe you can correct me.
I think this guy thinks that he was a miracle worker.
I don't think he thinks anything. No, he was.
Based on what you told me about him and based on the things that he said,
Yeah.
my analysis of his psychology is that he feels that he is a miracle worker.
As in, like he sees me as like a case that needs a miracle, and he's gonna give it to me.
No.
Okay.
He thinks that with the right guy, right?
Oh, this girl is gonna be saved. Yeah.
No, here's what, like, she would perhaps, for you, she would be willing to
Yeah.
to do Taharat HaMishpacha, keep Shabbat, and kosher.
Brother man, and I'm not telling this to you. I'm just saying it in general. I was with a woman. This is 10 years ago. And I'm not saying this to toot my own horn. I'm not saying this to put myself on a pedestal. I'm telling you the truth. She adored me. However, she didn't adore me enough to go to mikvah, to want to fully keep, kosher, to want to fully keep Shabbos, and or to want to go to seminary when I said, let's go, I'll go to yeshiva, you'll go to seminary. She adored me up to a point. She had her limits of how much she adored me. Okay?
Yeah.
And I meet women all the time who like me a lot. But, it's like that song by Meatloaf. I would do anything for love, but I won't do that.
Yeah.
They'll do anything for love, for me, but they won't do that. And it's happened over and over and over again. So what makes this MFer think that this woman, it's like I keep thinking of I don't know why I just thought of Lewis Black, because when I think of something I think of In Sync. I don't know why I just thought of
Um, I already explained to you why he thinks that. Because he thinks he's a miracle worker.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I agree with him. I'm just telling you what he thinks.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's just funny. It's just funny. And I actually just explained to I think it was to my mother the other day, because we were talking about that. I said a woman will always pull up a man spiritually. If a woman's more into stuff than the man, chances are the man will follow the woman in that respect. The other way around, very rare. And my mom was like, "Yeah, I'm doing this. You see, I keep stuff because of Papa and because you want it and Papa wanted." And I said, but she's like, "But you see, I'm like doing it like begrudgingly." I'm like, "Precisely my point. You just proved my point. You're not going along. You're just going along to get along. Whereas if the shoe, if it was flipped around, a man would go, like if you were the one with the fervor about it, if you were the one who was into it, a man like Papa would go with you not just to get along, but he would go with you and become interested in it, because the woman is the spiritual center of the home, not the man. The woman always is. That's why when I was with this girl 10 years ago in Tel Aviv and I saw that I was more into it than her, I understood. I'm not going to drag this person into something. Like, she's not going to go with me. She's not. And she didn't.
I respect your perspective.
Okay.
I hear you. But I feel like, I don't know. To me, it feels like it's mostly the guy in general who just goes along with the woman just to avoid having conversations.
I think that's in the beginning, but guys take to, like, I've seen it where guys eventually take to stuff on their own, as opposed to if a woman does go along with the guy, it's one of those things. It has to ultimately it comes from her because she wants to, not because the guy, did a whole Yemenite thing with a saber to her neck, and she's like, or ISIS or whatever it is.
The Yemenite thing? What do you mean?
No, I'm saying like we make her religious, this kind of stuff. Make the woman religious, or it only happens if the woman actually wants to learn from the guy. Like a guy's only going to teach a woman if the woman's actually like, teach me. If the woman actually says, teach me, I want to know, if she yearns for it. Like I met a girl like that. I was whatever. We were seeing each other for a little bit, but even so, she realized that it's a bit much for her. It's difficult for her. Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah, at this point, I've said to Hashem many times. I said to Hashem, "Listen, man, you see that I did all the hishtadlus possible, humanly possible, and now I leave it up to you." But then it almost seems like, in my case, when I leave it up to Hashem, I end up literally, I hardly go, except going on dates from people. Usually because it's girls, I see their picture and I'm just like, no. Or I get to a point where I just kind of like avoid all of these, I don't know, singles events or Shabbatons or Shabbats. And then when I go on these things, ain't no one there of interest. So then I start to wonder, like, what's out there? Like, what's left? I don't know.
So, okay. So basically, I see an issue here. So, going like, kind of like surrendering to God, right, is the best thing that you can do, right? And then in terms of being proactive about, seeking out a wife, right? You got to essentially go through the motions.
Yeah.
But with this mindset, the mindset of like, God just wants me to be here. I'm not entirely sure why I'm like the way I said, I don't know why I'm digging ditches today, but this is where God wants me to be. Doesn't make sense to me.
So here's my question, man.
You could similarly say, I'm at the singles event, but I don't know what God had in mind, today. But whatever, I'm here, and most of what we're doing here in this world, it doesn't make sense, and nobody's explaining to us what it's really about.
Yeah.
Okay, so going to a singles event, right? You could look at it like this. They have an open bar at these events, or something akin to that.
Dude, yeah, there's been all kinds of events.
Like
oh my God, hold on.
Louis C.K. He was saying that he had to, he forced himself to go to these like PTA events, right? And he hates them.
Oh my God.
And he's miserable there, right? And then he finds something here that will from jumping out the window, and he finds like a plate of cookies, and he goes stands next to the cookie. He goes, "That's why this is what I'm about here.
Yeah.
These are the cookies. I'm all about cookies. That's why I'm here."
Brother, whatever you're describing, I've done it all and then some. I've done it all at the event. I've done as far as different types of events. I've done, you know that song, I've been everywhere, man, I've been everywhere. I literally, it's hard to believe, I know, it's hard to believe. I've done everything. Everything and then some, and things you haven't thought of. Everything. In every way which possible. I've made it a point to, sometimes at events I've made it a point to just talk to like every girl that I find remotely, which is very rare, but whatever. Rare in terms of like the amount of women that I find even remotely that I'm into at these events. But like, let's say there's one, and I'll talk to her. Sometimes I won't do that. Sometimes, I'll just kind of like let things come as they may. Oh my God, hold on a second.
Topic.
Anyway,
okay, we have to.
Yeah.
But before we do, just in conclusion, and this is a fact, indisputable.
Yeah.
If you just completely adopt the mindset of, all right, God, whatever, like I've ejected any of my personal like desires, things that I like, or goals or things or ambitions or things that I really wanted, gone. What are we doing today? And I'm not thinking literally anything else. Like literally, not what we're doing today. What are we doing in the next hour? I'm not thinking even past the next hour. Literally, that's called living in the moment, right? If you live in the moment, you wouldn't give a damn if you're not married by 80. That's literally Yaakov, by the way. You know how old Yaakov was when he got married? I understand that Yaakov is Yaakov and we are we. I get it. I'm just saying that Yaakov was so busy living in the moment with God that he's 80 before he even considered getting married. It never even occurred to him until he saw Rachel. He was too busy living in the moment with God.
Yeah.
Just think about it.
Yeah.
Never think about the future. I'm telling you to do the exact opposite of what every supposedly responsible person thinks sounds responsible. Yeah. Don't think to the future. Live in the moment only with God.
Yeah.
That's the only safe way to do that.
Yeah. I hear.
Dude, think about it, and I'm sure you could relate, right? Like, you go through period, like guys, right? go through periods of like extreme horniness, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where they
Big
can't,
time.
like they're just like surrounded by whatever, right? Then they get the opportunity to escape that mentally, right?
Mm-hmm.
For a moment, because let's say they're like, dude, is that a Sega Master System? Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. He goes, can I play that? Dude, while they're playing that, they escaped they didn't think about women or any type of, fantasy for hours. And they missed nothing. They didn't even like,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't feel like, oh, something's missing. Nothing is missing.
Mm-hmm.
When you're a kid, you're free of that, right? You have not been burdened with that yet. Okay? And once you're in that burden, right? And it's like some people never get a chance to get away from that, right? But if you run into something that pulls you out of that temporarily, you're like, oh my God, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be this way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's guys in yeshiva, like some guys, like seriously, like I'm totally. It's not necessary. Like it's like if women are not there, right? They essentially don't exist. It's like even the thought of it is similar to the snake entering into the garden. Like what do you?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So I'm not saying that that's the solution. By the way, I'm just like speaking in principle, right?
Yeah.
My point is, if you live in the moment with God, right? It's probably much more like that than not.
Yeah. For sure.
That's it.
For sure.
That's the only. What we just spoke about is literally the only actual practical advice that you will ever hear said to you. Everything else is like flaw.
I know.
I don't even know how to say flaw in English.
Just like
bullshit.
Yeah. Hodgepodge. Hogwash, not hodgepodge. Hogwash.
Poppycock.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Jibba jabba.
Jibber jabber. Oh, yeah.
All right, so what are we going to do to change the subject, man?
We're going to talk about what we were going to ask Rabbi Weisberg. About the show.
Have you thought of anything?
Well, one thing I want to ask him about is I want to ask him about first of all if he Dafka thinks, because one of his videos, that famous video where he said, basically he, without saying these words, he said basically Baruch Dayan Emes to the American dream, to United States of America, July 4th, 1776 to January 6th, 2021. And I want to ask him if he still holds by that. And if yes, or why not, whatever.
That's the thing, ironically, that's the thing that I liked least about all of his videos.
Really? Why?
Yeah, I'm not going to stop you from asking it, but that's the last. I wouldn't go there because I don't want to hear it.
Listen, you could not want to hear it, but
about the death of America. I'm not interested in that.
I hear what you're saying, but I think well, he mentions a positive aspect about that process. But listen, it could have changed because things change. You never know. The other thing I want to ask him about is the whole thing, because he actually said he was going to mention on that same video the whole thing of the 3,333 years after Har Sinai, that this would start happening. I want to ask him about where that number is from. Why Dafka that? I mean, I think Dov Bar Leib wrote about it. Dov Bar Leib has his own, kind of thing on it. I don't really remember exactly what. But, yeah.
Let's explain to the folks at home who Rabbi Weisberg is and what he specializes in.
Rabbi Weisberg, I mean, the first time I saw Rabbi Weisberg was when he was talking about, it was during right after the election, when everybody saw and knew and thought that there was horrible fraud. And he was commenting about that, and he was saying how, like, Hashem wants to make a miracle for Trump, and he wants to overturn, like, he wants to basically confirm that Trump is going to be the president. He was making all these videos, basically giving everybody hizzik about that for like this literally 2 month span, and then it basically did not pan out. And after it didn't pan out, he started making videos explaining from Hashkafa of
the thing is, it half panned out because he really did win, and we all know it. He actually won.
Yeah, but I mean, panned out in the sense of, like, Pence didn't do what he was supposed to do, and then we had this whole January 6th, equivalent of like the Reichstag fire, basically.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by when I say it didn't.
You know what I'm gonna tell him?
No.
I'm gonna say, Rabbi, I know that you think that Biden is the Nachash himself,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm gonna disagree. I feel like Pence is the true Nachash.
Yeah, listen. The Nachash is somebody who you think is good, and turns out to be not. Listen, I don't know. Pence, Nachash. Pence recently said that he's glad that Roe versus Wade was going to be overturned, because at the end of the day, he's like this supposed Christian or whatever.
No, he's still gonna pretend to say like Republican-y stuff.
Yeah.
They all do.
Yeah, to make people think he's not a total turncoat.
I mean, I don't even know why he has to do that. I mean, I can't even believe that. You know, it's shocking to me that anybody could trust anybody in the Republican Party whatsoever. I don't even know how these people are not hiding in a bunker somewhere.
I don't know.
The betrayal.
Yeah.
They're far worse than the Democrats.
They just know how to hide and lie.
Lie.
I always tell the truth, even when I lie. Say goodbye to the bad guy.
Those guys, they can't do that.
No.
Can I play you something?
Yeah.
This is like related somewhat to Republicans. It's just when we said Republicans, it reminded me of this guy who is a congressman now. His name is Tim Burchett. One second.
Mm-hmm. I think you mentioned them before.
Yeah, this is related to Tic Tacs. Listen, I'm not gonna, we're not gonna go through a whole conversation without talking about the Marshmallow Man. He's walking down Park Avenue, right? Yeah. And they're trying to make us not look at that.
Yeah.
So it's a lie.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. Where is it? Second. Tim.
By the way, I'm starting to think I might have to go to France to find my wife. Like, physically go to France.
Dude, I told you to come to Miami. It's the same idea.
Yeah. There's like a bunch of there's like a bunch of French girls.
Yeah. Fine, do that. I don't know why you got to go all the way to France, but if you're fine, just do that. That's what I'm actually happy that you said that.
I have two friends who are married, two American doofy guys who are married to French girls that they met in Israel.
Dude, they love Jerry Lewis.
I know.
They love him. Can't get enough of him.
Hilarious.
French people are odd.
They are odd. Very odd. Yeah.
Okay, I found this guy's Wikipedia. Not Wikipedia. It's goddamn Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where the fuck is it? 1 second. Silence. Awkward silence. His name is Tim Burchett.
Mm-hmm.
When he's interviewed, he has rifles behind him.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's see. Maybe this is it. Okay. This is embarrassing. I don't know why this is done to me, but it's done. Okay. Let's see. Tim Burchett. Okay, so this is Tim Burchett's, this is 7 days ago, okay? Tim Burchett on UFOs, okay? This is in response to the congressional hearings that they had about this, like a few days ago, like 4 or 5 days ago, okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is him. He's on News Nation, some show. Okay. Representative Tim Burchett on UFOs. The government is part of the cover-up. Mm-hmm. On Balance with Leland Vittert. I don't know what that is, but okay. Tell me if you can hear this, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Hold on.
Yeah,
For some reason, that video never gets old. It's been
Can you hear that?
yeah.
Okay.
years, and the government still won't tell us the truth about this video. It's a Navy fighter jet that spotted a UFO. And it's not us saying that the government won't tell us the truth. Members of Congress want answers. They want more from a Pentagon refusing to say much about those who have visited us in these videos. This map shows 6 separate incidents of unidentified and unknown flying objects detected by the U.S. military dating all the way back to 2004. A number of the UFOs were tracked or seen by multiple ships and or radar, and as you saw, captured on video. Congressman Tim Burchett, Republican of Tennessee, who's passionate about this issue, joins us now. Big picture. Does the Pentagon know more than they're saying?
100%. 100%. And Leland, you had George Will on earlier, and you said it's in our country's DNA not to trust the government. And this is another example why. These are Navy pilots. These are the top pilots in the world. And they didn't leak it, but somebody else leaked it. And for the longest time, they said it didn't exist. And now that they've come forward with these tapes, there's so many of them out there that show, they're flying into the water, it's under the water, in the air, like this, which we're seeing right now on the screen. There's just so much out there. And
they're showing on the screen a video taken by a commercial airline pilot of a sphere within a cube, a translucent cube flying through the air. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, that's the basic idea. I just wanted to, so this guy is going to be, and he's going to be part of, the disclosure of all this kind of stuff. He's, obviously they chose him to spearhead this, or to be the face of it for some reason. I'm not sure why. Yeah. But he's a Republican, He seems like, if there's a legit Republican there, it seems like, he's kind of like one of those guys. But anyway, he says all the right stuff. Yeah. Both politically and, for UFOs. Let's see what happens. But, so back to the questions that we're going to ask Rabbi Weisberg. And they're not going to be UFOs. That's for sure.
No, we're not even going there.
That didn't work out with the Rav, with Rabbi Kesed, and that's just fine. Yeah, that's totally fine. By the way, you know that Rabbi Bar Tzadok, right? Mm-hmm. He was in recent years. He unfortunately his first marriage didn't work out.
Yeah, I think you mentioned this.
And well, because he mentioned it, and then he got remarried to a French. He went to France. Yeah. And
I think she's like 20 years younger than him or something like that.
possibly more.
Yeah.
Because he's in his probably mid-60s.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, he practices kung fu for
Yeah.
most of his life.
Yeah.
He goes to the gym,
Yeah.
drives a Harley.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting dude. But anyway, yeah. So he he's in shape. Okay.
Yeah.
And you could see a guy like him with a young lady. It doesn't look weird because he has that kind of.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that because you mentioned going to France and he
I
went
hear.
to France.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. You never know.
Right? But yeah, so the questions I wanted to ask the rabbi. So for the folks at home, the thing that stands out most for me about Rabbi Weisberg is his calculation for when the last moment that Mashiach can actually come. Actually, not even. It said that's really when the resurrection of the dead is supposed to begin.
Yeah.
Okay. So based on his calculations, it ends up at 2027.
Yeah.
Okay, and that is, I'm pretty sure that's what he said, 2027, and that is the same calculation that we heard Rabbi Alexander Kuhl say, right, when he was on that podcast called Kiddush Club, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but his calculation was done a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Okay, but they're both using calculations found in the book of Daniel. Okay?
Yeah.
And somehow all the statements that the angel was telling Daniel about when the end will be, they all seem to coalesce on 2027.
Yeah.
Okay? So now I probably am not getting this entirely right, but basically Rabbi Weisberg is saying that in the book of Daniel, let me open it up right now. Okay, I think it's chapter 12. Okay, Greg, do you have the ability to look at it too? Go to Sefaria.
Just one second.
Tanakh.
Just one.
Daniel.
Uno momento, señor. Uno momento, señor.
So
which
I think it's either chapter 11 at the end or chapter 12. One second. He gives like two numbers. One of them is like 1335, and the other is 12. Hold on. I'm looking for the numbers.
Yeah.
Hang on. It's either chapter 11 or chapter 12. Then I, Daniel, looked and saw two others standing, one on one bank of the river, the other on the other bank. He's about to, talk to the angel Gabriel.
Two others.
One said to the man clothed in linen, who was above the water.
This is Daniel 12:5. 1 second.
12:5. Oh.
1 second. Book of Daniel. I'm going to go on this thing called Mechon Mamre, which is a good website for these things. Daniel.
For time.
And then I'm going to go to 1 second. 12. Okay. Yeah. Then I, Daniel, looked and behold, there stood others. Okay. I'm there.
Okay. So so 200. Okay. It will be. Okay. So 1 second. So he said, Gabriel said, "Go, Daniel, for these words are secret and sealed
Wait a minute.
Wait a
minute. So where are you reading now? I don't.
That was what I just looked at was number 9 of chapter 12.
Oh, okay. Yeah, then he said, "Go thy way, Daniel, for the words are shut up and sealed to the end time of the end."
Right, and then verse 10 is, "Many will be purified and purged and refined. The wicked will act wickedly, and none of the wicked will understand.
Yeah.
But the knowledgeable will understand.
Yeah.
For the time the regular offering is abolished, and an appalling abomination is set up."
Can I read to you the English here? It says, "From the time that the continual burnt offering shall be taken away, and the detestable thing that causes appallment set up, and there shall be 1,290 days."
No, it says it will be. No, you're right. It will be 1,290 days.
Yeah, days. So that's what it says.
Yamim, right? So the word for days is yamim, which can also be years, depending on the context.
Yeah.
Okay. like in Genesis chapter 50.
Yeah.
So basically, 1,290, right?
Yeah.
1,290. Okay. So the rabbis from from the year 900 and before, right, or the year like 1100, right?
Yeah.
They received a tradition from the rabbis before that it would be 1,290 years after the temple was destroyed, right? And then they set up that temple to Jupiter. So they interpreted that temple to Jupiter as the abomination,
Mm-hmm.
right? That is set up on the Temple Mount.
Yeah.
However, when you add 1,290 years from that time, you end up in like the 1400s. Okay?
Yeah.
However, if you begin from the year 632,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's 632, that's when they built the Dome of the Rock.
Mm-hmm.
So you could say, well, how could the Dome of the Rock be a bigger abomination than the temple to Jupiter?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Dome of the Rock, if you go there and you see they have these like tiles with inscriptions and writings, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which were denigrating the prophet Moses, Moshe Rabbeinu,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we know that one of the fundamental principles of our faith, of Jewish faith, is that Moshe Rabbeinu is the prime prophet, that God gave his Torah through Moshe Rabbeinu. Even Mashiach will be involved only in Moshe Rabbeinu's Torah. God said, the Torah that I gave through Moshe Rabbeinu is my instruction. That is my word only. When you denigrate that is you see, even Jupiter, right? If you make a pagan temple, right? But it didn't go out of its way to specifically negate one of the primary principles. You understand?
Yeah.
Islam did that, knowing how horrid that is
Yeah.
for Jews.
Sorry.
Okay?
Yeah.
Like paganism is just sort of like, I mean, I don't believe, we have a different view of things, but they're not going to go out of their way and like be that like nasty about it.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The people who built the Dome of the Rock, they really did that. That was like the ultimate domination, humiliation, right? Of they wanted to make sure. So that Dome of the Rock was set up in 632. So if you count 1,290 plus 632, what do you get? I'm getting
1,000. What is it? 1,000.
Look what it says in the verse. It's 1290, right?
1922.
Hold on.
1922.
1,290. Hold on. Plus 632. Okay. 1921. Hang on a second. Summer. Thank you, Summer.
Huh.
Summer stepped on my keyboard. She likes to do that. Every time she steps on my keyboard, she creates some kind of setting which I don't know how to get out of. This is something that she does. So I screwed up this. 1 second. It's 1,300. Okay, so there's two numbers here. 1 second. 1,290. Where is it? It will be 1,290 days. Okay, and then 1,335. Oh, I did the wrong calculation. Okay, this is why we're going to interview the rabbi. He's going to explain it to us correctly. So hold on. So let's do this. 1,335 plus 632. Okay, I think I'm getting the date wrong of when they set up the Dome of the Rock. Hold on. What year was Al-Aqsa, apparently? What year was...
When was it built?
Yeah.
But no, Al-Aqsa is that gray mosque. You're talking about the Dome of the Rock, the golden one. Dome of the Rock was built. 691, 692. Umayyad,
692.
692.
Okay, that makes a little more sense with my calculations.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was putting 632, 692 plus 1335. Damn it, let me try it again. 692 plus 1335. Okay, you get 2027. So if we have 1335 in verse. We have in verse, let's see, verse 12 of chapter 12.
Bekitzer, we're close.
The second from the last verse in the book of Daniel. It says, happy are those who wait and reaches 1,335 days, which means years, okay?
Yeah.
Right, so 1335, right? And then earlier, a couple of verses, it's actually the verse just above it. It says, from the time regular offering is abolished, right? And an appalling abomination is set up, which we're interpreting and makes the most sense to be the Dome of the Rock, right? Yeah. It will be 1,290 days. Okay, so let's see. So from 692, let's do the original calculation. Okay, 692 plus 1290 equals 1982. Okay? So from 1982, so there's a time span here, right? So there are sources that say that there's a 45-year period, right? Mm-hmm. Between when Mashiach shows up and does all of the things that Mashiach does, right?
Yeah.
Before I think it's before the resurrection begins. Okay? So something happened in 1982, which the rabbi will explain. Okay? And then 45 years from 1982 is 2027. So that's where these two numbers come. This from Daniel chapter 12 verse 11 and then Daniel chapter 12 verse 12. Okay? So this is talking about the end times. It's talking about the date of Mashiach. And earlier, it said that many will be purified and purged and refined. The wicked will act wickedly, and none of the wicked will understand. Remember, the context of this is about when the Messiah will come, right?
Yeah.
And then it continues, but the knowledgeable will understand. So that's interpreted as the tradition is that when it comes close to the end, there will be those who will be able to understand the following information. And the following information is from the time, which is the next verse, from the time the regular offering is abolished, okay, and an appalling abomination is set up, it will be 1,290 days, which it's translated as days, but the word is yamim, which can also be years. And then it continues, happy is the one who waits and reaches 1,335 yamim. Okay? Yeah. And then it finishes with, but you go on to the end. You shall rest and arise to your destiny at the end of days.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why actually there's a place in the Gemara that actually says that if Mashiach is resurrected from the dead, it's going to be Daniel.
Interesting.
Because of this verse.
Interesting.
So basically that's what Rabbi Weisberg, that's what made the biggest impression on me of the things that Rabbi Weisberg is talking about. So, and this is a very bold claim, even though this really makes a lot of sense, because it really seems to coalesce with a lot of other things that are going on. I mean, if it was just this alone, even that would be like amazing, but I wouldn't be like as convinced as I am that this is right. in the context of many other pieces of evidence, and also for the fact that the calendar is ending.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2027 is what Hebrew date?
2027. Oh, what Hebrew year?
Yeah.
Depends. I mean, if you're talking about 1 second. Second. Oh, goodness gracious. I mean, if you're talking about if it would already be not Rosh Hashanah yet, it would be like, let's say May 2027. It would be 5787. But if you're talking about already, Tishrei, then it's 5788.
Okay, so let's do. Okay, so 6,000 minus 5787. Let's do the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, that's 213. So remember what we talked about yesterday with Stuyvesant, right?
Yeah.
That we have. So one of the rabbis said it's going to be 214 years. Mashiach, the resurrection of the dead will begin 214 years before the year 6,000.
2014 or 2015? 215.
214.
Okay.
Okay. So, and then the other rabbi said, no, it's going to be 210 years. Okay. So that means we have to, God forbid, wait 4 years longer than 2027, according to that opinion. But you see where the range is, right?
Yeah.
Now, so you have those statements from the rabbis in the Zohar, right? And these are Tanaim. Okay? And then when you coincide that with this information that comes from Daniel, right?
Yeah.
Okay? It points to the same date.
Yeah.
Right? So the evidence is building. And plus in the book of Daniel itself, we just read how it says that when the time comes, the wise will be able to discern when the end is. When you get close to it, you'll be able to see it. Okay?
Yeah.
So we have Rabbi Weisberg saying this, and then out of nowhere, we have this other Haredi rabbi, Rabbi Alexander Toole, who's saying it, and he's bringing even a different proof from the book of Daniel, which also leads to the same date, which we'll talk about.
Hul, not Tool. Hul.
I said Toole?
Yes.
I'm sorry for that. I didn't mean to.
Hul.
Hul. Hul is just a word that I've never... It doesn't sound like anything I've never said the word Hul. I've never heard it before.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's an unusual last name.
It is, yeah.
So...
I think it's Dutch.
Unusual doesn't mean bad.
Yeah, I think it's like Dutch or something like that. Not sure.
He looks Sephardi.
Oh, does he?
British. Yeah. I mean, he looks that way. Doesn't mean that
Yeah.
People think I look Sephardi sometimes.
Yeah, same.
Depending on what time of year we're talking about. But yeah. So that's okay. So what have we decided? Any questions we're going to ask him?
Yeah, I mean those. And,
oh, you're gonna ask him about the death of America. Great.
And then I'm gonna, if he still holds by that, I'm gonna also ask him about the 333 thing, 3,333.
Well, that's the same question.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm gonna ask him like where that number came from. I'm gonna say if he holds that, if he doesn't, even if he doesn't, just stop where that number came from anyway. And also, I would like to ask him regarding... I want to ask him what he thinks about Jonathan Pollard. There's a lot of chatter by people, not only Anglo people in Israel, but also Israelis, where a lot of people think that this guy either could be like, I don't know, something significant in Israeli politics, or Dafka like Moshe ben Yosef, which is kind of crazy.
I've heard this. We've talked about this, the Mashiach ben Yosef idea connected to Jonathan Pollard.
Yeah.
I don't get that sense, but I'd be happy to be wrong.
Dude, I mean, I don't know about Mashiach ben Yosef. I mean, the only thing I do see is that he literally... Can I read to you? It's a very, very short article that he wrote It was published today in Arch. I mean, it was Arch Sheva, but it was also published in Yediot.
I read it, but I would like to hear it again.
I want to read it for the folks at home also, so I can. Here, it's called Israel is heading.
You're right. They're important too.
Yeah, exactly. It's entitled Israel is heading to disaster. Jonathan Pollard. After all the years I spent in prison, the natural inclination is to try to focus on rebuilding my life. That is what my beloved wife Esther and I tried to do during the 1 year of grace we were given together here as in Israel. And that is what I'm trying to do now after I lost her. But the clear knowledge of the disaster that we are leading ourselves to with the images of the past few months, and in particular the gut-wrenching massacre in Elad, leave me no peace. I simply cannot remain silent any longer. For decades, Esther went in my stead to be with the families of fallen IDF soldiers and terror victims during their most difficult moments. I don't understand how she was able to stand it. Ever since her passing, I have been trying to follow in her footsteps, but I am haunted by the faces of relatives who have lost everything, and I tremble with a handshake. A hug at a funeral leaves my body and soul trembling, especially since, like them and like everyone else, I cannot flee the knowledge of this loss. I cannot flee the knowledge that this loss could have been prevented. During the 30 years I was in prison, I lived with incredible fear and concern for my life. I had to have eyes in the back of my head. I couldn't sleep at night, concerned that someone would enter my room and stab either me or my roommate to death. I had always to carry a knife and be prepared to use it without hesitation. I constantly had to witness the horrible deaths of other people, especially my friends, that occurred suddenly and without warning. In prison, the most frustrating thing of all had to do with the fact that the officials in charge of protecting us were basically scared of the violent prisoners and accommodated them as much as possible. But put plainly, our administrators wanted peace at any cost, even if it meant that innocent people were murdered without serious consequences to those who attacked them. We couldn't even rely upon the guards to protect us because they didn't want an inmate injured by them taking them to court. I quickly learned that we didn't have a right to self-defense under any circumstances. People can't believe me when I tell them that we were always wrong if we tried to defend ourselves. And those who did were always punished excessively in order to make the point that they were no better than their assailants. It was total insanity. I prayed that when I came home, I wouldn't have to live this way. I was wrong. Indeed, given what I've seen over the past year, it's even worse now for me because this time it's not about one or two people getting randomly killed, but about an entire nation being traumatized by an army of cold-blooded, anti-Semitic psychopaths who the authorities are afraid of provoking. I've seen this movie before, and it never ends well. In prison, I had one or two good friends who watched my back, and I watched theirs, and I lived under God's grace and tried to remember that you fear no one but God and strike first. Here, incredibly, I'm living with a whole country that is either scared to death or in denial. This following thing was the most encapsulates the whole thing. We are all suffering on account of a group of intellectually challenged political and judicial elites who have an infinite capacity to tolerate the suffering of our citizens, all the while insinuating that we are somehow responsible for all the violence we are experiencing. I'm going to repeat this again. We are all suffering on account of a group of intellectually challenged political and judicial elites who have an infinite capacity to tolerate the suffering of our citizens, all the while insinuating that we are somehow responsible for all the violence we are experiencing. I see the faces of the captured terrorists after they're carried out the terrible massacre in Elad, and I see clearly how they aren't afraid of prison. They know that they will get conditions many times better than what any common criminal would face, and a stipend from the Palestinian Authority in honor of the murders they committed, etc. I know perfectly well what a prison designed to deprive a prisoner of his will to live looks like. But here, the conditions for the jailed, despicable murderers only encourages more terrorists to join the club. How can we let the situation continue for even a minute longer? I'm tired of this. I'm tired of seeing our so-called leaders taking our flag and washing out the blue and leaving only the white of surrender. I'm waiting for somebody, a leader, a true Jewish leader, to come forward and put the blue stripes and the Magen David back on our flag. I'm waiting for a leader that will put the fear of God into our enemies. I'm waiting for a leader who will act without any concern about what anybody else outside our country thinks, whether it be the United States or the European Union, the UN, or anybody else who believes they can tell us where we can live and how we are to defend ourselves. We know why we are here. God gave us this land, not the British Empire, the League of Nations, Washington, or the UN. But despite this fact, it is sad for me to realize that our holy mission of reestablishing the Third Jewish Commonwealth is not even halfway done. And this is because our own fear and trepidation, not the result of our enemies' actions. We still don't have our land back. We don't have our self-respect back. We don't even have our independence back the way we should have after 2,000 years of pogroms, crusades, inquisitions, and genocidal attempts to eliminate our people. I've spent 30 years in prison hoping and praying that I would come home to a state that would defend me. Was I wrong? It certainly feels this way. A story my father often told me comes to mind. He said that a soldier's principal duty is to protect the lives of his comrades, not to let them down because some high-ranking officer was too scared to order a necessary but politically incorrect action. As I see it, our lives have essentially been reduced to such a battlefield, where our citizens, my brothers and sisters, are forced to defend themselves and those around them, not only from the enemy, but from our government, which is too scared to do what is required to eradicate the terrorist threat. This state of affairs is totally unacceptable. We desperately need to get rid of this galut mentality that prioritizes the need to understand, quote-unquote, our enemies over the security of our people. We simply can't think like the 10 spies who attributed to others what they felt about themselves, namely, that they were like grasshoppers. Well, I'm not a grasshopper, and neither are my brothers and sisters in this country. We are the descendants of proud and noble warriors who feared only God and never hesitated to defend our land from some of the greatest empires the world has ever seen. But over many years, our leaders have relentlessly tried to have us forget this fact in favor of our adopting more liberal postmodernism, where we share our land with those who openly seek to destroy us. No more. We must reject this type of cynical defeatism before it kills us. It is time for us to regain both our individual and collective self-respect. It's time for our nation to demand that our leaders care about us rather than their foreign masters. It's time for our elected representatives to finally eliminate once and for all those groups and countries who seek to destroy us. Lastly, we want the Army High Command to wake up and stop pretending that managing the enemy is an acceptable strategic doctrine. Yeah, dude, in Tel Aviv they have what's called conflict management. It isn't. It's a form of appeasement that preserves our opponents while making us look weak and stupid. I know we can enact these essential reforms. If we actually want to be an independent country, we have no other choice. Indeed, these goals should be seen as sacred obligations we must embrace not only for our sake, but also for the sake of our future generations. May God grant us the wisdom and the strength to do so. You know, man, I don't hear anybody in the Hebrew language space speaking like this. Why does it take an American Balshuva guy to say these things? Why are American people, why is it only Kahana and this guy? I don't hear any Israelis. Maybe Ben Gvir, but Ben Gvir is copying Kahana. I don't hear any Israelis, as much as they feel the same way, whether it be Sephardi or Ashkenazi. Sephardim, all they know how to do is run around saying, Mavet Haravim, death to our cousins. But other than that, they can't formulate pardon my language.
You answered your own
They
question.
can't formulate a sentence, Blin. Why do these weird Americans have to come to Israel and write articles like this?
I heard your question. Would you like an answer, or you want to just keep asking it?
Yeah, no, I just want the people to hear my question. Yeah.
They heard.
Hold on a second, man.
You got to wrap it up.
No. It was there was a question asked. Yeah.
So the answer is the following. Why again? The question is, why does it take Americans to do it? Why no Israelis? You know why?
Boy.
Because these guys are Americans and those guys are Israelis.
Yeah.
Which means Americans understand we're born with the spirit of free speech and of this whole idea of saying what needs to be said. Israelis are goddamn socialists.
Even the ones that are not socialists, they've just been conditioned by a socialist system.
They've been conditioned in this environment where they don't have a concept of free speech.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a horrible, horrible, horrible government system. Okay, a horrible, oppressive, mind and soul and spirit crushing, oppressive, stupid, garbage, embarrassing system that was set up by goddamn socialists. That's why.
Yeah.
That is the answer to your question. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
No, it's crazy, man. It's just like you got and then they go, oh, look at this American came to Israel and barely doesn't even speak Hebrew and has the gumption to say these things. Well, you ain't saying it, MFer. You know? And the ones that are not articulate. They're just yelling at the top of their lungs, death to this and death to that.
They don't have the American spirit. Okay.
No, they just don't even they're not even articulate. Forget about American spirit. They can't verbalize what needs to be verbalized.
Do you know why those guys aren't really shut up? When you have the most extreme guys yelling death to this and death to that, from the Jewish guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that the Israeli government understands is the general the general psychology of the Jew.
Yeah.
Most Jews are peaceful people, right? And it's not in their nature to go out and to seek physical conflict.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
They wanna talk, intellectual stuff. They wanna, they're not looking for a fight.
Yeah.
They want to live.
Yeah.
They understand that. So whenever they have those extreme guys, they know that those extreme guys are not going to be taken seriously. So they're not very worried about them.
Yeah.
But when you have somebody who's not sounding like one of these crazy extreme guys that's going to be brushed off, somebody who might actually have an influence,
Then we have a problem.
that guy's way more dangerous.
Yeah. Then we have a problem.
Yeah. Okay, that guy you have to shut up. You have to use all of the resources of your stupid, crappy, shitty, socialist, embarrassing government, okay, to shut him up. And that's why God bless America. That's all I have to say. There's a reason why America is important. It's more than just, the way Haredim look at America. Even the Haredim that have a positive view of America, right, they don't have a complete understanding of what America is and how important it is.
It's not. I don't want to say God bless America. I want to say God bless the founding fathers, the goyim who had.
That's what. Obviously, that's what I'm talking about. And also,
understanding of
Tanakh.
Tanakh.
I wanted to touch upon this because you just said something that was. I'm so glad you said that. Like we were on a Joseph Lowell Gallen.
Lowell Joseph Gallen's show, yeah.
Right. So he has a lot of interesting people on.
Yeah.
One of the people that he has on regularly, right,
Mm-hmm.
aside from my brother and you, right,
Yeah.
is Yair Davidi.
Yes. Oh, does he?
Yeah. lot.
When was the
All the
last
time.
time? When was the last time you had them on? I don't remember.
Okay, well, I'll show you right now.
Let's take a look. 1 second. Lowell
He
Joseph.
has them on weekly, actually.
Let's see.
Root and Branch.
It's.
Okay.
I mean, you could see Lowell Joseph Gallen here. Yair. Oh yeah, Lost Tribes Fellowship. There you go.
Okay.
You had one
Now,
on May
so-
2nd.
Right.
Yeah, he does.
Now-
Oh, look at that.
I agree with Yair Davidi, okay? And he's a mainstream Haredi guy, okay?
Yeah.
He, very, very brave guy, okay?
Yeah.
Where he actually says that the tribes of Israel, the lost tribes, right, are regaining their consciousness of who they are.
Yeah.
And he considers America Israel, part of Israel.
Interesting.
That the people of America, for the most part, not everyone, right? But a very, the dominant influence and majority of
Yeah.
Americans,
Yeah.
especially those of Western European descent,
Yeah.
ended up in America and got away from their, from their neighbors, right? And, and back in the old country,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because they wanted to coalesce, because they are descended from the tribes.
Yeah.
Okay, so and there's a reason why America is so close to Israel. It goes more than just political affiliation or military-industrial complex. There's a spiritual reason underlying it.
Yeah.
That American Christians will wake up and understand they will transcend Christianity, okay, which is a stepping stone to their rejoining of Israel. This is what he said. After many, many years of studying what he said, I agree with a lot of it. It makes personal sense to me that for a lot of reasons, okay? I'll tell you the primary ones.
Mm-hmm.
God doesn't need extras. There's 8 billion people in the world.
Yeah.
Right? And also keep in mind, where did God put the Jews throughout history? Where did they spend most of their time? That's not an accident.
Yeah.
The people around whom they've spent most of the time were people who needed to be not sucked, but pulled back into the family, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
God didn't put us in China.
Yeah.
He didn't put us in the Congo.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with either one of those places.
But he also put us with Germany, which is basically Asaph,
right,
Amalek,
but
Asaph.
it's not just Asaph.
Yeah.
And by the way, people don't understand that Germany, before it became an official country, was essentially 300 city-states or regions that came together, each one having their own culture, their own history, and they didn't frequently look at each other as one group.
Yeah, it's the same thing with
tribal.
It's the same thing with Italy, like these princes. That's where Machiavelli wrote, like the prince, because it was the different princes. It wasn't like one united Italy. Yeah.
You have different city-states in the same little region of Italy going to war with each other constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so kind of like Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, Capulets and Montague,
so,
Capulet.
Yeah, you have these odd tribal conflicts. Anyway, so what's interesting is that he says that if you wanted to know what is the primary ethnic majority, if you had to pick one ethnicity in the United States, which is the biggest ethnicity that you will find in the United States?
Probably German. I mean, European.
That's right.
European.
No, specifically Germans.
Yeah.
Like the majority of the white people that you're going to encounter in the United States come from German immigrants from the late 1800s, early 1900s.
Correct.
Okay? And so those Germans are not the same Germans that they left behind in Germany.
Yeah.
There's a reason why those particular Germans left and came to America, because they could not live with the Germans in Germany.
Yeah.
They were different. They were different culturally, in their mindset, the way they observed religion, the way they just everything. Okay?
Yeah.
So Yair Davidi, he focuses on the ethnicity, on the regions, on the culture, on the customs, and the history and the local folklore of the Germans that actually migrated from Germany and came here. And according to him, he seems to be able to trace their lineage all the way back to the lost tribes.
Interesting.
Okay, and there's more than anecdotal evidence for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's just like, it starts to pile up really, really high. Okay, so America, it's hard to say this out loud because most people like scoff at me anyway, so it doesn't matter. Why don't I? I talk about Tic Tacs. Why not this?
Yeah.
Okay. So, right. So basically, yeah. I mean, I think for the most part, I don't agree with literally everything that Yair Davidi says, but the main points I seem to be in agreement with him. Makes sense. I've read his research. Okay. And I've heard people criticize him but the criticism does not seem to be an informed criticism. It comes from a uninformed way. It's basically a straw man type of situation. I've never heard anybody actually address the things that he talks about and then say, here's why I think it's wrong.
Yeah.
Okay? So there's not many people that criticize him, but even those that do, some of whom I actually respect for their own work, they don't seem to be fair.
Yeah.
To Gary David. Okay?
It's kind of like the people that say this is misinformation. Can you be specific and let's get into discussion? No.
I think that the people, yeah, exactly. I think that the people that are criticizing Yair Davidi are dismissing him because of the way he talks,
Mm-hmm.
the way he sounds when he communicates.
Yeah.
Okay, it's it's really just judge a book by its cover in a horrendous way.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
optics. Optics.
Okay, I can't prove that, but this is what it seems like to me. Okay,
Yeah.
because the guy sounds like he's gargling gravel.
Yeah.
Okay? But he's not doing that on purpose. You
Yeah.
know, that's just
It's the way he talks.
he might have a condition. You know, he's
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so. But focus on what he's saying. You know, like address points. Anyway, so America, it ain't just a chaperone that's nice to Jews and holding on. There's way more to it.
Yeah, of course.
There's going to be, when the truth finally comes out, everything is going to be shocking.
Of course.
People are going to be their jaws will drop
I
as
told
to what
you-
the real story
I
is.
told you many times what my rabbi, Rav Dror, says. The people who we think are, have this yichud, good dating back to whenever, we're going to find out that these people actually,
I mean, they're Jews, but they not as much Jews as the people that we think are not even Jews at all. The people that we think are not even Jews at all are more Jews than the people in Flatbush. Let's put it that way. That's essentially what he said.
I think I get the basic idea.
Yeah.
I just don't get the. I don't get the.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right, but just for the folks at home, there's no way. In reality, it's just kind of like a slang way of talking.
Yeah.
There's no way to be more Jewish than any other Jew. It's like,
no, yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, it's like he's essentially
basically, I think what he's saying, the people who really talk about their lineage and
Yeah.
their purity,
yeah,
all the stuff, right?
Yeah.
Which is important on some level, but the people
Yeah.
who are really walk around proud of it and,
Yeah.
and perhaps would denigrate somebody that they seem doesn't
Yeah.
have the same
exactly.
lineage and pedigree,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
It'll turn out that those people who
Yeah.
they are denigrating
Yeah.
for apparently not having the same pedigree
Yeah.
end up being more pedigreous.
yes,
Just made that
have
word.
more of a pedigree than those people who
More-
think
more,
they have a
right.
pedigree.
Pedigricious.
Yes. Yes.
So,
yep.
Yeah. Right.
Yes, sir.
all right. So a lot of interesting things that we've discussed. We talked about. We didn't talk about the Marshmallow Man enough, but listen, we talked about a different kind of Marshmallow Man that people rarely hear about,
Yeah.
which is the fact that America is Israel.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. It's funny you say that because, dude, I think I mentioned this before, but I'll say it again. For the longest time, I remember when I was back here after I lived in Israel, and I was like so pining to go back to Israel, and I always, I would always visit Israel, and I finally moved back right before COVID, dude. And this past time that I came back, this in October 2021. I was starting to get the feeling when I was in Israel that, like, I don't know, I stopped seeing a difference between America and Israel. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was just like, I don't feel a difference. I don't know what it is.
So-
and I feel like maybe some of the Kedusha, for whatever reason, has been a little bit sucked out. Has v'shalom, I hate to say this, has been sucked out of Israel. I don't know what's going on. Even like Jerusalem is like different from what I normally experience. It's very odd. And I wasn't even like, I normally would be like sad to leave Israel, and I wasn't so sad. Like now I'm B'ezrat Hashem going to go there for about a month after Shavuos.
because I do, at the end of the day, I do miss certain things culturally, let's say, or I miss my friends there. Um, and I do want to see if I can like reignite, so to speak, that spark, or if things have changed. But for a few months, I was just like, I don't really, because I was going a lot back and forth. I was traveling back and forth, even during these 2 years of COVID. And I got to a point where I didn't feel the difference, and I would always feel a very marked difference, always. But I don't know, the last maybe year or so, I stopped feeling that difference. It's very strange, and I'm thinking to myself, and you know how they, I don't know if it was in Gemara, it says, when Mashiach comes, you know, uh, the entirety of Israel will be Jerusalem, and the entirety of, so to speak, the world will be Israel. So I'm trying to think, maybe that's already like happening.
I wouldn't say it's happening. I just wanted to clarify something.
Yeah.
That when I say America is Israel, I'm not talking about the geographic location.
No, I know. I'm just talking about.
But it's an Israel that doesn't know it's Israel yet.
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
Oh, I get it.
Okay, and according and Yair Davidi speaks about this. He says that the tribes, the lost tribes, and the Jews, they still have to stay separate.
Yeah.
They still, the lost tribes, they still have technically a status of goyim.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's a reason why God separated the tribe of Yehuda and Benjamin and most of the Kohanim and kept them with the Jews, right? And then the other tribes were they lost a sense of who they were, their identity, and they were sent to, basically the status that the separation still needs to continue until Mashiach himself comes.
Yeah.
And removes that klippa.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
The danger of reuniting and celebrating too soon with our brothers is that God's Torah will be trounced upon in that process.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, and as much as I hate this term more than anything, the status quo in this respect needs to, only Mashiach can come and actually, that's the only status quo that Mashiach actually has to come and do himself. Right? The status quo that the Israeli government talks about when it comes to the Temple Mount is bullshit.
Yeah.
That's not a real one. We can do Korban Pesach, and I'm a vegan.
Yeah.
We can do it. There are places on the Temple Mount that we can go to. We can build a shul up there.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's what Jonathan Pollard's been saying for a while. That we should build a shul over there. A shul, yeshiva, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Okay, but when Jonathan Pollard also makes me nervous because on a certain, I have to wonder, does he really? It's hard for me to believe that he actually believes that the Israeli government is doing something to accommodate because they're scared of the Arabs. That feels very, very naive and or misleading.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he should be smart enough to know that that's bullshit.
No, he knows. No, I think he said not that the government is scared of the Arabs.
No, he said that. He did.
Well, the thing is, I think it was either he mentioned this, or I believe it was Ben Gvir. I think one of these guys or someone else. I remember it was this past week. They said that basically Bennett cannot do anything even if he wanted to, because one wrong move politically, if he takes care of what he needs to take care of, and the Arab party bolts, and that's it. So Bennett basically has to toe the political line. So basically, he can't do
just for the sake of staying.
Just for the sake of power, but
without actually accomplishing anything.
Yeah, not accomplishing. But the irony is that he's not going to stay in power anyway. The worse it gets, the more there are attacks, the more like today they had this no confidence vote against him. It was the first day back in Knesset.
So the more he doesn't do anything, the more incentive there is for the opposition to just, convince other people in Knesset to join them in a no confidence vote, because they're gonna have chas v'shalom more attacks or whatever, more something. So it just, either way, it's gonna, like, this whole thing's gonna backfire on him. He's a schmuck. It's either he's gonna do something, at least what he's supposed to do, and then the Arabs will leave, or maybe they won't leave, but most likely they will. But even if they will, at least Benedict will have done what he had to do. He at least he will have done something. But here he's not doing anything because he wants the Dafka stay in power, but he's not going to stay in power because he's not doing anything, and there's going to be a no confidence vote. So he's a schmuck. Either that, or Hashem just basically has taken over his heart like Paro. We know that Hashem basically, as soon as these people get up to that level, wherever they are, these leaders, that's it. There's no more free will. Hashem takes over. So I feel like Hashem is, working him in a certain way, like a in Russian we say plastidin, like a Gumby, like somebody who's made of clay. He's just molding him how he wants. But it's still stupid. Watching this is very stupid. Not just stupid, but dangerous for the people of Israel. But I don't know. I hope it collapses soon. Zat Hashem. It's interesting because Shas, the Haredi party, the Sephardim, they're calling for the next election to be not a coalition one, but just a direct, how we have in America, direct, like one guy versus one guy, direct election for prime minister, and then once they select the prime minister, then you allocate all the party, majorities or whatever you want to call it after that, instead of having these elections where it'll be like 60 to 59 and you can't freaking form a coalition because you're missing one guy, and it's like that 4 times. It's just like annoying because we have some sort of weird mathematical whatever insufficiency. I don't know. I really don't know what's going to be. But
I don't know either.
I do know that the next government of Israel will be the most religious government Israel has ever had since probably the times of the Beis Hamikdash.
Right. So when I started out saying about Pollard, it makes me nervous because it's looking like, I don't know, it just gets the feeling like it's asking for a political solution to this when there is none. So I wish he would have just said we need Mashiach.
Well, it could be. The thing is, political solutions and Mashiach in this day and age could be one and the same. Or I'll give you another option. Listen, even Rabbi Kessin was saying how, at that time at least, before he screwed it up, Gideon Sar, by he I mean Gideon Sar screwed it up, would have been the good, guy to usher in the Mashiach. So
we don't need an usher anymore.
No. Well, so what I'm saying, here's the thing. Like, it could be that, or the usher that we have now is not a person necessarily who's gonna, come in and do this wonderful, changing the education system and easing everything in. Now we're just kind of gonna skip to the usher that is just gonna, or the ushers who are just gonna install, like, by force, a religious, or at the very least a very, very strong Jewish system, whether people like it or not. And actually most people like it. They do. At least 60% of people, 65% of people. And that's just how it's going to be.
Do you think Jonathan Pollard could be the prime minister, the usher?
I don't know, but I do think that he can be involved. I think he could be involved some way, somehow, and a prominent voice. I don't know if he's cut out to necessarily be prime minister. Listen, man, I think Kahana, if anything, was more suitable for that. That's why they killed him. They saw that he was gaining in popularity. Listen, for all I know, I could be totally wrong. For all I know, Pollard could come in, even though he doesn't speak a lick of Hebrew, and they can put him on a list, and he could just, like, and a bunch of like Sephardim could vote, for whatever party Pollard's part of, and then all of a sudden Pollard's like elevated to some prominent, level. I don't know. Who the heck knows? Israeli politics is, you know.
I'm going to read something. We're going to wrap up soon.
Yeah.
But I wanted to read. This is an essay. This is another essay from Bart Sadok.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is for Alex, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our friend Alex, who comments.
Yeah.
Frequently, right?
Yeah. Mm.
We're lucky enough to have him comment on our videos frequently. I want to read his.
Oh,
latest.
Ely, Alex Ely. Okay, I thought you were talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not Stuyvesant.
Oh, okay,
Stuyvesant is he's in the penalty box until further notice.
Stuyvesant is like the Ty Domi of our podcast. He's like the Bob Probert of our, if you know who Bob Probert was.
Not a gracious guest.
Of blessed memory. It's like the goon, the instigator.
Yeah.
There we go. Instigator penalties.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Completely off sides, out of nowhere, no reason.
Yeah.
All right. Whatever. That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
We love him anyway.
Yes. That's funny.
1 second. Where the hell is our damn last video, man? I can't. Make it easier. Make it easier. Come on, you put that. What the hell's going on?
Speaking of hockey, not that this is any relevant at all, the Colorado Avalanche just flattened the Nashville Predators in 4 games.
The National Predators?
The Nashville. There's a Nashville.
Oh, there's a new song. Wow, there's a new hockey team.
They've been around for a while.
That's how long it's been since I watched hockey.
Exactly. But yeah, the Colorado Avalanche do not look like anybody can beat them. I'll be surprised if they don't win the Stanley Cup. That's all I have to say. Anyway, go on.
All right, I found the okay, Alexander Lee. So he says, my guess, this is him commenting on Truth Fanatics, and he's commenting on the Tic Tacs. So he says, my guess is that when the revelation of these Tic Tacs comes to fruition, the next step will be free energy. Our universe is infinite, and energy is never lost. We are living in a formula for free energy. I agree. Once all of humanity obtains this, fossil fuels, wind energy, geothermal, solar energy, and money become obsolete. Mm-hmm. If energy is free, then we wouldn't need money. Anyway, that's my shot at predicting the future of what these Tic Tacs might lead us to eventually.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
He continues, as far as what they are, right, these Tic Tacs, when considering the Tic Tacs, in my very uneducated, and I shall add humble opinion, right, I would guess that some are benevolent and some are more sinister. Mm-hmm. There are clearly different types of these things based on the various descriptions of these things. My uneducated guess would be that we are dealing with multiple types of entities. Regardless, they are all working according to Hashem's plan. I fully agree, Alex, and I'm going to read something which will basically confirm indirectly what you just said. Essay 3 of the Disclosure Essays by Ariel Bar Tzadok. Rabbi Ariel Bar Tzadok. Angel Wars, Cause of Human Conflicts. There have always been wars here on Earth. Why? Why are we so self-destructive that we wipe out human life in the tens of millions? We erase entire civilizations, ruthlessly murdering their entire populations. Why are we so devastatingly cruel? Human-on-human violence seems to have been with humanity since the very beginning of human civilization. The only other recorded human behavior present from the dawn of history is the presence of religion. So violence and religion seem to be the two most ancient human behaviors. And they certainly are no strangers to one another. Indeed, very often throughout history, violence and religion have gone hand in hand. Mm-hmm. Religion usually involves the worship of this or that god, right? Gods or whatever. Yeah. Often religions themselves define certain behaviors that offend the quote-unquote gods. The punishment for such an offense is usually death. this violence, for the most part, was still small in scale. When, however, competing religions clash over who gets to decide what the reality of the universe looks like, then we have wars in the largest scale imaginable.
Yeah.
Today, again, for the most part, our violent religious clashes take second place to more modern expressions of radical faiths. Today's faiths are indeed religious in tone, in their psychological makeup, and in the influence they have on their believers. But more than not, they leave God out of the equation, the modern versions. The three most popular faiths today are not religions that revolve around God or gods in a heaven, but rather revolve around what is the right way for humanity to live here on earth. These faiths, and yes, they are faiths, are the three philosophical, economical systems that have taken over almost every part of our planet. We have the three systems are capitalism, socialism, and communism.
Yeah.
This essay is not being written to discuss politics or to compare or weigh the pros and cons of these three systems. Rather, my point is simple. In earlier times, when religions ruled the world, their minions regularly waged war one upon the other. Today, while some old-time religions still embrace the path of violence, the greatest perpetrators of crimes against humanity are those who act with such wanton disregard for human life, all in the name of this or that country, or in the name of one or of our three new religions, right? So, like wise King Solomon said long ago, there's nothing new under the sun. It's Kohelet, chapter 1, verse 9.
Yeah.
Ecclesiastes for the Christians. Okay, Kohelet. Now, what, I'm almost sure, right? Kohelet and Ecclesiastes are, right?
It's the same thing.
Yeah, okay. So what causes all of our conflicts to be so ruthlessly violent? Is this due to some inherent flaw within human design that seeks our self-destruction? Or is there something much more sinister going on? By the way, did you know sinister means left in Latin?
Means what? Left?
The word for left.
Left?
For left.
Interesting.
In Latin is sinister.
I mean, it's in Spanish. What is it? It's how do you say it in Spanish?
Well, I'll confirm that after this.
Interesting. Hold on.
Okay.
English. Anyway, go on. Sorry.
Why don't you Google how to say left in Latin?
I'm gonna do that now. Left.
All right, I will continue.
Spanish is izquierda. Latin, it's interesting.
It is?
Translations of left. Sinister. Huh.
There you go.
Aggressus, right. Sinister, laevus, Skyvus, and that's it. And manus sinistra. Like sinistro,
I don't care about all that
a...
other stuff. I just care about the thing that makes me right. Okay.
No, like, I think Italian as well. Yeah, sinistra. Italian is sinistra. La sinistra. La manca, la sinistra. Anyway. Go on.
All right, here we go. So what causes all of our... Yes, it is. What causes all of our conflicts to be so ruthlessly violent? Is it due to some inherent flaw within human design that seeks our self-destruction? Or is there something much more sinister going on? The answer to this question is found in biblical and later literature about angels. Read on with caution. You may not like what you're about to learn. So for the folks at home, that's a warning. Okay? All right. So the Bible makes certain things very clear. God's definition of morality and our human definition do not match. God clearly says through the prophet Isaiah, he says, quote, "In order that they know from the shining of the sun and from the west that there is no one besides me. I am the Lord, and there is no other, who forms light and creates darkness, who makes peace and creates evil. I am the Lord who makes them all. That's Isaiah chapter 45, verses 6 through 7. God is the creator of evil. There is no other. And God will use whatever he has created for whatever ends that he sees fit. Again, God speaks through the prophet. This is from Isaiah chapter 55, verses 8 through 9. Quote, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, says the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts." Yeah, agreed. God is certainly not apologetic for the divine way, nor for our lack of human understanding of the divine way. Human understanding is not required. This alone reveals to us much about the true nature of the divine. First and foremost, being that it certainly is not human. According to the Bible, God is in charge of everything. Whatever transpires on earth has its origins in the realms of heaven. God actively involves himself in human affairs, not always for one's personal betterment. The example of Pharaoh in the days of the Exodus is well known. I might have to disagree with that last thing that he said, that God actively involves himself in human affairs. That's true. And then he continues, he says, not always for one's personal betterment. I've heard most of the things I've heard to the contrary of that, but whatever, we'll continue. The example of Pharaoh in the days of the Exodus is well known. Quote, this is from Exodus chapter 7, verse 3. Quote, "But I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and I will increase my signs and my wonders in the land of Egypt." Okay. So later, God turns against Ahab, right? King of Israel, king of the northern kingdom of Israel after it split off from the United Nation of Israel, right? So there became two kingdoms. So he was the kingdom of the northern tribes, okay? So later, God turns against Ahab, king of Israel, and intentionally seeks to deceive him. I actually just read that. The intent being that Ahab will act upon the deception being true, and then Ahab will be led to a terrible, violent outcome. Okay. The thing is, he ended up doing tshuva, I think, but anyway. So, and quote, "And he said, therefore, listen to the word of the Lord. I saw the Lord seated on his throne, and all the host of heaven were standing by him on his right and on his left. And the Lord said, who will entice Ahab so that he will go up and fall in Ramoth Gilead?
Yeah.
One said in this manner, and another one said in that manner. And a certain spirit came forth and stood before the Lord and said, I will entice him. And the Lord said to him, how? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all of his prophets, who were, by the way, the prophets of Baal, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And he said, you will entice and you will prevail. God said, go forth and do so. And now behold, the Lord has placed a lying spirit in the mouth of all of these prophets of yours, whereas the Lord spoke evil concerning you. That is from the first book of Kings, chapter 22, verses 19 through 23. Okay, so we may rightfully ask, by what right does God have, even if he is the creator, to intentionally manipulate human minds? Why does he create evil? And as we see with regards to both Pharaoh and Ahab, why does he so freely use it?
Mm-hmm.
We all know the story of the Exodus. We all know that the final plague that led to the freedom of Israel from Egypt was the killing of the firstborn. If this really literally happened, we must ask, was every victim of this terrible plague individually worthy of death? Wasn't there at least one single one of them who could have been innocent? And what about later with the parting of the sea, which led to the destruction of the Egyptian army? Those men all went to their deaths following their pharaoh's orders. Okay. Like Alfred, right? Lord Tennyson wrote in his charge of the Light Brigade. He said, quote, theirs not to make reply, theirs not to reason why, theirs but to do and die.
Yeah.
Does anyone ever think about the devastating effects these actions had on the surviving family members of these men who were killed? Here, I'm expressing human moral concern. But as we already know, quote, "My thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways," says the Lord, Isaiah 55:8. And, quote, "I am the Lord, ... who forms light and creates darkness, who makes peace and creates evil. I am the Lord who makes them all." Isaiah 45, verses 6 through 7. Okay. So who am I and who are we to challenge the morals of heaven? According to the Bible, we are clearly all... Actually, who are we? We're Yisrael. We wrestle with God. That's who we are. But that's aside, I guess, a different conversation. According to the Bible, we are clearly all in the hands of God and subject to his higher thoughts and ways, regardless of whether those thoughts or ways agree with or conform to human moral standards. God acts and God does. But God alone does not act in this way. God has delegated this authority and power to his overseeing angels, those that direct human affairs on the divine behalf. Okay? So, quote, "By the decree of the wakeful ones," I'm going to say this again. This is from Daniel chapter 4, verse 14. Quote, "By the decree of the wakeful ones," wakeful, WAKEFUL, wakeful ones. I'll say it again. "By the decree of the wakeful ones is the matter, and by the word of the holy ones is the edict, in order that the living should know that the Most High rules over the kingdom of man, and to whom he wishes he gives it, and the lowest of men he sets upon it." Daniel chapter 4, verse 14. As we saw with regards to Pharaoh and the prophets of Ahab, God manipulates human consciousness to coerce individuals to act in accordance with the divine edict. We might very well, at this point, stop and ask about the extent of human free will. And although we may ask and speculate about our answer, no answer at all seems to be coming to us from heaven and our Creator. When Nebuchadnezzar was to be punished by heaven for his sins, the angelic authorities chose not to strike down the king with violence. Rather, in the opinions of many, they did something much worse. Quote, "They will change his heart from a man's, and the heart of a beast will be given him." Daniel chapter 4, verse 13. What'd you say?
I said that's crazy.
Yeah. That's Daniel. That's what it said. Changing one's heart in modern terms would be called inflicting the mind with mental illness.
Yeah.
Essentially, the angels robbed Nebuchadnezzar of his sanity and drove him insane, clinically so. Now, if the angels themselves were to remain faithful to the divine edict and simply serve as executioners of the divine will, then we would have no one to blame other than our Creator, God.
Yeah.
But what if this is not the case? What if certain angels are taking matters into their own hands? What if angels are as corrupt as some human beings? If angels have the power over the minds of human beings, and they themselves are corrupt, how is this going to affect human affairs? So we can return to the Bible for our answer. While we might want to believe that all angels are holy servants, faithful to God, this might not be the case. Okay? While Daniel was praying to God, strangely, an answer was not forthcoming. The reason for this delay, as outlined in the Bible, is most peculiar. The angel who was sent by God with the answer to Daniel's prayer has this to say, quote, "And the prince of the kingdom of Persia has been standing against me for 21 days. And behold, Michael, one of the first princes, has come to help. And I remain there beside the kings of Persia." That's from Daniel chapter 10, verse 13. That was, by the way, Gabriel speaking, the angel. The Bible reveals a secret. Greg, you still with me?
Yes.
The Bible reveals a secret. Each nation has their angelic guardian. and each angelic guardian has an authority all his own. The angel may or may not choose to obey a heavenly edict. Angels are in charge and have tremendous powers over human beings, even over the faithful, righteous religious ones. This subject is well understood by the writers of the Kabbalah. One of them summarized matters like this. Are you with me?
Yeah. Listen.
Okay. Here's the quote. Angels whose names end with L are the guardians of the nations.
Like EL.
Yes. And they fight with one another like bucking rams. This was written by someone amazing. This is from a Kabbalistic work 1,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Sodei Razia, and it was written by Rabbi Eliezer of Germiza.
Interesting.
Yeah. That was OG, like Kabbalist. So the Watchers described in Daniel are the angelic guardians. By the way, when we sing like songs and like Shabbos songs and we hear the word Irim, Kiddushim, that's the Watchers.
Yeah.
So the Watchers described in Daniel are the angelic guardians of the earth.
Yeah.
In later rabbinic literature, the Watchers are referred to as the heavenly Sanhedrin, but that just means that it's a tribunal.
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way,
By the
way, one of these, what's his name, Eliezer of Germiza, he's one of the Balei Tosafos. He's one of the people who wrote Tosafot.
Yeah, he's a Rishon.
Yeah. He's got a few books that he wrote. Actually, let's see. Yeah. Interesting. I just wonder, like, how come these Sfarim are not spoken about more? Just kills me.
They're spoken about, like, by the Kabbalists, like Dovber Pinson talks about them pretty often,
So would you go? The book is called Sodei Razia Hasharlem. There's a book. Yeah, you could order it on one of these websites. It's $27, but it's in Hebrew. Yeah, a work of Kabbalah by Rabbi Elazar of Germiza. He provides a study of creation stemming from the power of the Hebrew alphabet. He cites and quotes Merkava and Chechalot literature. He then describes the realm of characteristics of angels, divine throne, chariot, divine voice. The rest of the work focuses on God's names and the fate of the soul after death, the meaning of dreams, and a large practical guide for the creation of a golem. That's crazy.
Told you, man.
That's out of control. Yeah, unfortunately it's all in Hebrew.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So he was one of the Hasidei Ashkenaz.
Mm-hmm.
You heard that term before?
Yes.
Okay, so again, in later rabbinic literature, the Watchers are referred to as the heavenly Sanhedrin. Right? Associating a collection of angels under the name Sanhedrin implies a level of holiness and purity, the likes of which was expected of the Sanhedrin here on earth. Okay? The Sanhedrin here on earth served as a supreme court of the Jewish nation throughout, he writes here, throughout the later period of the Second Temple and a number of generations thereafter, but I know for a fact that they had the Sanhedrin from day one. So I'm not sure why he wrote that. But anyway, the sages of the Sanhedrin would debate biblical verses and pass rabbinic legislation. We would expect a heavenly... Actually, I read that wrong. They wouldn't debate biblical verses. They would debate the understanding of biblical interpretation. And they would pass rabbinic legislation. We would expect the heavenly Sanhedrin to be less contentious. However, we see this is not the case. Indeed, we discover that the heavenly Sanhedrin is far more contentious than its human counterpart ever was. The Watcher angels fight amongst themselves all the time. Yeah. What happens among them shouldn't concern us, but for the fact that when angels fight, they manipulate those nations under their dominion to also fight.
Yeah.
Thus, Human wars are psychologically influenced by the malicious influence of the Watcher Guardians on the human unconscious.
Yeah.
This matter is summed up well here. Quote, here's the quote. There is no nation or tongue that does not have its own Tsar,
Yeah. Yeah.
which means angelic prince.
Yeah.
In the upper world, sorry. Being that these supernal princes have become corrupted,
Yeah.
they are constantly fighting, making war in heaven. Therefore, there is an overwhelming great compulsion upon all the nations below to fight, more and more here on earth. This is why we have wars here on earth.
Yeah.
It is because of the princes in heaven. This is the commentary to Sefer Tefuna. That's a book.
Yeah.
That's a very deep Kabbalistic book.
Yeah.
Okay, so just how do these princes provoke wars? Right? We cannot fully say, but we can learn from the biblical examples how angels influence and control human minds, or better to say, human emotions. Angels are telepathic beings. It is their nature to speak with human beings in dreams and visions in a mind-to-mind style communication. As these compromised entities struggle and fight, all those under their spiritual dominion are subject to their spiritual influence. Thus, as they fight above, their energy disturbances cause human imbalances, leading us to fight as well here on earth. So this state of out-of-control, harmful, angelic influence is referred to in Kabbalistic literature as galut,
Yeah.
which the mystical understanding of exile.
Yeah.
Essentially, as long as divine consciousness is blocked from human minds, the corrupting influence of fallen angels influences us all. Okay?
Yeah.
So in religions, by the way, very often we see the term Elohim Acherim in the text of Tanakh, right? That's who we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. Essentially, as long as divine consciousness is blocked from the human mind, the corrupting influence of fallen angels influences all. Okay. In religions around the world, enlightenment is sought as a goal to escape the pain and sufferings of everyday life. In the Torah tradition, we pray daily for Geulah, redemption. Essentially, we too seek to raise global consciousness to recognize the harmful negative influences that can overwhelm us from within our own minds and hearts. Real religion is never about competing or conflicting ideas or beliefs. Real religion has to proclaim a singular message. Human unity as part of the greater universal unity. This is the unity of that which we call God. Now, the best way to overcome negative spiritual influences is to not give in to the negative ideas and beliefs that divide. Each individual must struggle with oneself to overcome the tendency.
Can I quickly ask you, where is this all headed? This, what you're reading.
Well, this is the conclusion.
Okay.
So each individual must struggle with oneself to overcome the tendency that seeks division and thus to harm another. When we embrace unity within ourselves, we will have overcome those forces that seek our harm. This, in my opinion, is real religion and the most important thing for us to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? End of the essay.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, what Alex was saying before, you're right. A lot of these entities, right?
Mm-hmm.
They could be, representing different factions and different things. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
However, we do know that Osei Shalom B'Mormo, Hu Yasei Shalom V'Al Yisrael V'Yamru Amen. Right?
Yeah.
He who makes. How would you translate that? He who makes. Osei Shalom B'Mormo.
Peace.
He who makes peace in his heights.
Yeah.
He shall make peace upon us and upon all of Israel.
Yeah.
Talking about God.
Mm-hmm.
God will make peace among these bucking rams,
Yeah.
which are the angelic princes,
Mm-hmm.
and he will bring them to heel.
Yeah.
Okay? And they will become the servants of Mashiach.
Yeah.
Okay, so that has probably happened to a large extent already,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
For the most part, because we don't see city-states constantly at war with each other
Yeah.
all over the earth like we did for most of our history.
Yeah.
Okay,
Except for
and
the,
also
except for,
Zachary 14
except for the
is
Russians and
occurring in
Ukrainians.
75 years.
Yeah.
What did you say, dude?
I said except for the Russians and Ukrainians, where we have like a threat of like people think that nukes are going to be dropped.
But what's crazy is that seems to be like one of the angelic princes split himself in half and starts fighting with himself.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
Ukraine and
yeah.
Russia are
That's
the same
what
thing.
I've been saying. I've been saying that. He's fighting with himself. And for some reason the world feels the need to get involved. And the Jews also, which is very stupid.
Right. So you know what's something that I think this is my speculation, but I have a feeling that earlier in the essay he said that, like, you know, there's a decree from heaven, but then do the angels follow it, right? Because we have this view of angels that they just do whatever God says, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that they don't necessarily follow it, right, and they're called the princes, right, and these are the Ishim angels that he spoke about in a different place, right?
Yeah.
The watcher angels, these angels, these are Ishim, men.
Yeah.
Meaning they were men in the previous site, right? So it feels like there's a hierarchy to our race, to our species.
Yeah.
And it seems that the top of the hierarchy are these angelic humans from the previous Shemitah.
Yeah.
And it seems like even though they're angels, right, from our perspective, they're really just an extension of humanity.
Yeah.
And they do have, apparently they seem to have free will.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Interesting.
the plot thickens.
Yes.
The plot thickens.
Yes. Well, I wish one of them would help me with Shidduchim.
So
That'd be nice.
even though we're hearing about these people, these angels or whatever, right? We need not concern ourselves with them, right? Because that's what God says. You don't have to concern yourself with the details with the gears of the operation of the universe. All you got to do is talk to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? We're not supposed to talk to these guys. We don't need to. They'll do their thing.
Yeah.
We'll do our thing. But our thing is to have a relationship only with God.
Yeah.
That actually probably helps to bring peace between them.
Yeah. Well, with that said, I told Hashem many times recently, it's up to you now.
It is. And just in the so with that pressure off your back, you don't have to think about it. You could just kind of go about your day being light and fluffy.
Yeah.
Not fluffy, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. All right, sir. It's almost been 3.5 hours.
But quality 3.5 hours.
That's right.
Dense.
That's right.
Hey, Alex, Ely, if you'd like to come on as a guest, you're more than welcome. Let us know.
Yes. All right, sir.
Arrivederci.
Lala Tov, and keep hope alive.
Mission accomplished.
Keep hope alive. Texas.
El Cuba Libre.
Cuba Libre.
Viva El Cuba Libre.
All it is Jack and Coke. That's all it is, my friend. You know what a Cuba Libre is? It's a Jack and Coke with a lime inside of it. Got a fancy name. I know Espanol.
The teachery.
The teachery. Don't misunderestimate me. I'm the decider. I get to decide. You know, the beautiful thing about being president is that no one can question you.
Let me tell you about a guy. He sold a little coke, got in a little trouble.
Yeah.
He ended up in jail. Why? Because he's a Mexican. Let me tell you about another guy.
What the hell?
Who sold a little coke,
Yeah.
got in jail. But his daddy was the head of the CIA. So he ended up in the White House. Oh my God.
It's hard work. It's hard work. All right, sir. Good. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Don't let the bed bugs bite.
British.
All right. I'll do it.
British.
Night.